Welcome, everyone. Today is February 25th, 2017. For us that don't live in a different part of the world, that it is apparently Sunday for some people. I don't want to get into that discussion here. But today is going to be an excellent day. We have the Caster Show, which does include only black mages and only summoners. We don't have you scholars in here. We don't have bards in here. This is the Two Caster Show. All right. And if you guys are unfamiliar with MogTalk, it is a show based around anything the Final Fantasy XIV community wants to talk about, whether it's Chuckboat Racing, Savage Raiding, or practicing the dark arts. So, guys, without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce the cast we have today. I'll introduce the one that's been on here many times. Wonderful guest. Yeah, there's a reason he's on the show a lot. Mr. Balana, how are you doing today, dude?
Hey, doing great. I think this is what, number 10? 10th time I've been on here?
I think it's
close
10.
to that?
Yeah.
Around there. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Steak knife sets on the way.
Oh, nice.
Yep. And so, real quick, Balana, tell everyone your experience with casting.
With playing caster classes, I guess for rolling way back, I played a wizard in Dark Age of Camelot, then a warlock for like 8 years in World of Warcraft,
right.
And now for the past, it's almost been 3.5 years now. I've been playing summoner in Final Fantasy.
Okay. So basically, you're going into the real life caster and you're growing the beard out, right?
Oh yeah, I've been working in IT, and since I started there, I'm like, I'm gonna be growing my IT wizard beard. So
okay, perfect. All right, so let's get to the new guest we have. First one is going to be our black mage on the show, the only one that we have on the show, which is Sfia with a taped up mic over here from Elysium, the world's second clear, right?
Yes, that was us.
All right,
World first loser.
So. Everyone, real quick, or not everyone, Sfia only. Sfia, tell everyone your experience with casting.
If we're going back before this game, I played Diablo 2, and I was a viable sorceress in that. Changed to this game, and have been playing since beta. Black Mage pretty much exclusively. I've done a couple of sessions of Prog on Summoner, but pretty much start to finish of this game, been on Black Mage.
All right, nice. Okay. And then for our final guest, the world first group summoner here, Mr. Leith. And you guys, I hope you enjoy his picture here. He has officially transformed into digital FF logs, apparently. So, Mr. Leith, go ahead and tell everybody about yourself.
Leith.
No, Leith. It's going to be Leith. It's done.
Leith. Please start Leith.
Okay. Leith.
My experience is I played Black Mage Summoner since the beginning of A Realm Reborn, switching between the two usually depending which one is the meta at the time.
Okay.
Nice.
Yep, there goes the feedback. I heard it.
Yeah.
Go kill you, Sfia.
Predominantly.
That's not me. That's not me.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Predominantly play Summoner though. Summoner's my main. Summoner's what I like to play, but I will play Black Mage if it's called for.
Okay. Excellent. Do you have that flexibility, Sfia? If you're I need to play Summoner, will you ever go Summoner?
Yes. I kind of forced myself into that a long time ago. I mean, I don't enjoy playing Summoner, but I've joined alt raid groups, done Prog and Creator, Midas, pretty much every tier so far, just so that when the next tier comes around, I can be ready with both.
Okay. Balana, do you switch around?
I try not to, but I did do Black Mage for a little bit of Gordius for A4 because Summoner's kind of trash in that fight. And for Final Coil, I just full-on switched for that tier just because Summoner was pretty garbage that tier.
I figured it out. It's Leith. Leith's doing feedback.
It's me?
Yeah, it has to be you. I saw your thing lighting up. It might be. I don't know. You guys watch it too, and you tell me, and then we'll punish whoever it is.
We'll keep an eye on it.
I do see Leith lighting up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we got him.
We got him, boys.
I'm mute. When I'm not speaking, I'm muted though, so it can't be me.
Are you or what are you muted with? Are you muted with a toggle, or are you muting with Skype?
With Skype.
Okay. We'll see. We got the blue line, so we know for sure if it happens or not. Anyways, guys, not to detract too much. Sorry. Today we will be discussing about. Oh God, it's happening. It's going to throw me off every single time. All right, who's doing it? I'm going to look over at the name. Technical issues. All right, I'm watching. Oh, Jesus! As soon as I look,
it's not going to happen while you're watching. Yeah.
All right, Balana, you're going to keep an eye out for me. Keep an eye on those lines. All right. Today we are talking about casters in general, and we want to go over a lot of different things about casters. Some of you might know summoners and black mages have kind of fallen out of the meta a little bit, and people aren't really playing them anymore. And we want to discuss the decline of casters throughout the meta. We also want to talk about if you guys really want to play casters, which you should. If you like the job, just play it. You know, coming from a paladin, all right? We'll give you some tips and advice to how to properly play the job. And also, you know, kind of future speculation and all that fun stuff that we usually do within job shows. So, to start us off, I do want to have that really important conversation. And I want to ask you guys this question, and I want you to be honest, but not too mean. Do casters have a place in in-game rating currently?
Yes.
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 Oh my gosh, okay. So you all said yes. No one expected you to say yes. And that's not because I twisted your arm, right?
Yeah.
Of course not.
It's because endgame rating this tier is pretty easy. You can basically go in with whatever you want and probably clear. You don't need as much optimization as you might have needed in previous tiers. So
yeah, so, I mean that's absolutely true, which is kind of a good thing, kind of a bad thing, because then the content's too easy, and not everybody is happy. But
yeah.
Go ahead.
The biggest reason why you're seeing people, you know, going with the machinist bard instead of bringing a caster lately is there's no gimmick in this tier that you like actually need a caster for. Whereas in, you know, previous tiers, there's always at least like one little thing that, you know, you needed somebody doing magic damage to be able to overcome. And then even though, you know, like last tier, a lot of the fights you could just get away with 3 melee and machinist. But there were some, you know, mechanics here and there where you needed a caster. So that's why.
Like A7, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
The jails and everything else. Yeah, that's kind of weird that they did that. Go ahead.
Technically, you didn't need a caster on A7 either, though. You could have the white mage do it.
Once you could.
Yeah.
But it was artificially forcing you to bring a caster by the mechanics they presented.
Yeah.
Especially in prog. You didn't want to send a healer in there in prog.
Yeah.
No.
And it's kind of weird to see that kind of stuff. But, I mean, let's talk retroactive on this tier. You guys, every one of you guys went in caster for your first clear for progression on A12S, right?
That's right.
Yep.
Okay. So, that being the case, do you think that was a mistake to do that? Would you guys have had faster success if you had Bard or Machinist, or do you feel like that it was a good idea that you guys brought in caster?
It's a really tough question. I know that is it Dysomnia, the JP team, had really good success bringing a Bard Machinist comp. But had we gone in blind and there had been a mechanic that needed a caster, then you have to bring one. So I think that it's the safe play. So yeah, I think it's smart.
It was smart because you just didn't know. That it wasn't going to force you to it wasn't forcing you to have that caster in there. But I mean, let's talk about now that you do know. Do you guys think that you would have had better success with a Bard Machinist combo?
No, I don't think. The reason is like from the previous tier, most groups took a caster and caster was part of the meta. So you're taking the player into prog. You're not like taking the job. You have some players can play more than one, but generally most casters weren't picking Bard or Machinist like they are now. So like it was accepted that you would just take the caster. And I think caster Summoner more so than Black Mage performed really well in A12, in my opinion.
Okay, nice. How do you feel about that, Sfia, knowing that you have the underdog casting?
100% true. 100% true.
Yeah.
I think for this tier, going Black Mage was a terrible idea. In terms of the time it takes to actually get a fight down to the point where you can outperform a summoner on Black Mage, you just didn't have that in a tier so short.
Mm-hmm.
And A12 especially was heavily summoner favored, and it just made it tough. They do have strengths and weaknesses, each of them,
mm-hmm.
but summoner really shined in prog, especially for creator.
Yeah. I mean, Black Mage is really good for non-optimal comps. For example, if you're going to take heavy magic damage with a Paladin, APOC is, like, amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely
I think APOC is almost irreplaceable in Prog. I have never done Prog without it, and I know teams that wouldn't go through without it as well. It's very powerful.
Yeah. So, I mean, casters have their strengths, and I mean, as world first racers, as hardcore racers, you guys are always going to think, hey, I probably need to bring a caster in there, at least to test the waters and figure it out. You're not going to go, screw it, let's just go Bard, Machinist, and Ninja, Dragoon, right?
Yeah, probably not. Definitely not coming up in Stormblood. We'll probably be, running like 4 red mages or something. So.
What about Omega? Not Omega. Proto
Ultimate?
Yeah, Proto Ultimate.
World first.
Who's going to get it? Who's going to get world first Proto Ultima, guys?
Does Anchor have 24 people?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a funny story. At FanFest in Frankfurt, we tried it without Jobstones and failed it miserably, so I don't think we've actually killed it.
So the race is still on then. Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. It's funny to even talk about stuff because, I mean, when we talk about Primal World First, we're talking about whoever can get logged in quicker is kind of how it turns out. Go ahead.
Whose Dark Knight is awake.
All right, we'll let Leith go. Leith, you go first.
I disagree and say that most primals are like that, but I think the mini race that occurred during Nidhogg I think was good. Like, I was expecting something similar for Zavan, but we weren't expecting the servers to come up as early as they did, and we were kind of like disappointed with the overall fight. Like, while it's like aesthetically it's good, but substance-wise it's kind of lacking, or at least we found it was kind of lacking.
Oh yeah,
it took 4 pulls to kill it, so
yeah, literally 4 pulls,
which is extremely depressing. But I mean, it was one of the catch-up primals. When you talk about it, I mean, although Nidhogg was too, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Huh. Yeah, I mean, don't know.
The purpose for all primals is like it is a catch-up, isn't it? It's a catch-up weapon. So.
Well, I mean, like Sfia was an actual like weapon upgrade, right?
Well, no one who was going like I would kind of class Sephiroth as you needed a Sephiroth weapon to progress in Midas, but you didn't need the Sfia weapon to progress in the Creator. So, like, I would say maybe Sephiroth's the only one where it actually had value for raid teams.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, well, again, with the tier being so easy, 2-day clear time is kind of silly. But
can I also say that really sucked for Black Mages? We got the worst crafted gear. It shafted us. The weapon was atrocious. So I was using the Maiden still at A12 clear.
So let's have a quick derail conversation about World First Racing, and that Sfia might have cost the team a World First there because he had a bad job.
Whoa.
It's entirely possible. I think that our job selection had a huge part in us coming second.
Oh, God.
We did a lot right, but we did a lot wrong as well in terms of the jobs we played.
Okay. We won't go into that because we could have that conversation for probably 5 hours. Just keep talking about what ifs and everything else. You guys both did absolutely amazing, and you guys are absolutely amazing players. Balana, you're kind of an okay player. Yeah. So, Balana, you didn't do any World First Racing, though, this tier at all. I mean, you did try the tier before, right?
Yeah, my team, we did the 16 hours a day for the first week in Midas, but this tier we're like, we'll take it a little easy. We did one day 16 hours, and then I think it was like 6 hours a day afterwards. So we ended up clearing first week, which, is good enough for me. I think we might have been like top 20-ish.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't putting in the time.
Yeah, no, you're there, but you weren't putting in the time that these guys were for sure.
Right.
All right. Enough of World First Racing. I'm going to get off of it, guys. I'm sorry. I'm like in this prime situation where we can have these conversations about it, but I don't want to do it because this is the caster show and we're going to talk about casting.
All right.
Or the lack of recently. Okay. So that answers pretty much my first 2 questions, which was based on, hey, should we bring casters anymore? And you guys would think, yeah, if they did another tier, this expansion, you guys would still bring a caster just to be safe, I'm assuming. And how do you guys, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, and we're going to reveal the jobs you guys are currently playing. Sfia, what job are you currently playing?
Mostly machinist.
Okay. Leith?
Yeah.
Leith? I'm trying, dude. I'm
Yeah,
trying.
Cheers. Machinist, unfortunately. But yeah, machinist.
Okay. And this is only because you guys are doing speed runs. You don't really do it out of preference because you want to say, hey, I'm doing more damage. You're like, I just want to do a speed kill, right?
Not so much anymore. Our team stopped speed killing a while back, but machinist more for. Actually, I'm doing PvP now. So for that, and because if I do want to do weeklies, just pugging, it's easier to get a slot in a random pug as a machinist than it is with a caster.
That's true. Which is sad. That's sad. Leaf?
I'm mostly playing machinist for speedruns, but like I think it's good. Being able to play more than one job it's never a bad thing. So if next prog, if someone wants to switch about, then there's no downside to like playing other jobs. It's good.
Okay.
Try it, everyone.
Everybody try it. Go out there. Frosty, go Dark Knight. No.
Well, I mean, Paladin, right?
Paladin's the best tank, man. Oh, god damn it. I said I wasn't going to talk about it. All right. There's this meme going on right now with MogTalk. Like, every single show I have a conversation about Paladin and meta and everything else, but we're not doing it. We're passing it. Okay. So, going into the whole comparison, which I think is a really good idea to talk about not just casters in general, but to compare summoners and black mages. And you both have kind of heavily stated that you guys feel like summoners took the lead this tier, right? Over black mages. So, let's just talk about... Because when you join a game and you're playing a job as a caster, there's a certain type of player that likes to play different jobs. Like tanks like to be really tanky. People who like shields will get shields. People who like summoners, probably because they get pets and they can cast dots, and it reminds them maybe of warlocks in a bit from WoW. And then black mages because they like blowing stuff up. If you had to just... Oh my god, who is it? Who's lighting up? It's Sfia. It's Sfia. I got you, dude. All right, so
see, told you. Innocent.
Oh god. All right, sorry, Leaf. I do think it was you, or once or twice. So I do think it was you. We'll find out later on because I'm gonna keep my eye on it. So if you guys said, hey, I know a lot of summoners and I know a lot of black mages, and I know that they prefer this job over this job, and I know it's kind of hard because people jump around a lot between different jobs, especially at your level of play. People are playing multiple different jobs. But if people who are kind of attracted to those type of jobs, what kind of players like playing summoner, and what kind of players like playing black mage? If you had to just kind of think about that. I made both your faces scrunch, so I know that's a hard one.
It's a really tough question.
Yeah. I guess I would say that black mages are a bit more tactical, where you want to really study the fight and learn it, and learn how to, optimize yourself in those situations. Summoners, you can play a little bit more reactive, a little reactionary, and you can actually move around a bit. So.
Okay. So mobile versus kind of stationary play, and you would say black mage is more tactical than summoner? Disagree.
I think tactical isn't really the word. You need to have a better understanding of phasing, I think, as a summoner. But black mage, you have to be more reactive, think on the fly.
That's the opposite of what Balana just said.
Well, okay. The thing is that a black mage's rotation, which is kind of why it sucks right now, doesn't have a set timer. Right? When you play a melee, when you play a summoner, when you play a bard, you always know where your globals are going to be throughout an entire fight, and you can map it out. You can't do that with black mage because you have procs which just throw everything out the window. So you can be 4 globals behind where you'd like to be for a refresh, or you can be 3 globals ahead. And so you have to think every single time. Whereas with a summoner, you have your 1-minute rotations.
But they have procs as well. They have the spell speed proc, which can move things up and back a little bit. So
yeah, but you're talking seconds here, not globals, not like multiple globals. Yeah.
Oh, I feel like a fight's coming on here. I like this. What's your opinion on this, Leaf?
I'd agree to some extent. I think when you play black mage, you need to know the fight. Like, it's why it's kind of not detrimental. Like, I don't know if that's the right word to use, but going black mage in prog, you are kind of at a disadvantage because how you can, as a summoner, like the freedom of movement is so high, and the strats that you can make around that movement, instead of having a black mage who pretty much needs to turret unless he's like smart with his manipulations. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, putting down the little circle. What's that circle called again? That little
Ley lines.
Ley lines. Yeah, that little ley lines thing. All right, so I mean that's kind of a weird design, I think, by Square Enix in general, because that pretty much says we support black mages having to stay in one spot. We don't want them to move around. And if they move around, they can't move out of the circle. They're going to declare this spot's their hot spot, and they can't move around.
Well,
is that like?
That's why you.
Good.
That's why you need to know the like. That's why I said it's kind of detrimental, because unless you know the fight, you can put your ley lines down and the boss phases, and then you've lost that entire ley line. So with a summoner, you like you could go in dread trance and use your dots, but I think it's less detrimental than if you like put your ley lines down.
Okay.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, that's not really a problem when you're doing prog, because you're spending so much time in a fight. The biggest issue, in this tier especially, is that we were getting skips in prog. So when you thought you could use a ley lines, you can't the next pull.
Yeah,
so then you
true.
have to redo that, and it just sucks. It just blows.
Yeah. I'm guessing we're talking about A11, right?
All of them. I mean,
all of them.
You've got
10 as well.
phasing in 10. 9 is standard, but that fight sucks as well.
Yeah.
And 10 and 11 are really bad for it.
What's up with 9? I like 9. It's pretty good.
Of course you do. And the aerial blast death flare on those first 6 ads.
Oh, jeez. 12 is actually kind of ridiculous in the end when you think about that. I mean, that's pretty good for casters, isn't it? I mean, in general, 12 is a pretty strong fight for them, I would think, because it's very laid out. You don't have big skips within that fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're actually pretty strong. How did Bard just come out on top past casters in that kind of scenario?
Raid utility.
Is that it?
Raid utility, and also partly because of the way that time stop works, which is really, really favorable to bards. They get so much damage there.
So just because you guys freeze up and they have, well, no, it's not dots, right? What's the
dots tick? Okay,
well,
so
Summoner has dots though, right?
True, but it doesn't work out as well as you'd think. The timing's a bit messy.
Okay, so I'm super ignorant. I probably should have declared this like way earlier on. Like casters, I'm not great at casting. Again, the most I know is that you press a button and you have a little thing and it goes. It takes a little while and then you shoot a spell. That's all I really know about casters. All right,
that's pretty much it.
So
got into it.
When I ask questions like that, I'm just like saying I'm stupid. So explain it to stupid right now why that favors casters.
Well, favors bards.
Favors bards, and that doesn't favor like a summoner with their dots.
The
Iron
timing.
Jaws.
Iron Jaws. You get into you choose your refresh exactly which global you want it, so you can put it before and after each time stop.
Okay.
As well as contributing more to everyone else through foes.
Okay. Well, foes, I mean, in that scenario, they're contributing to Ninja and your 2 healers, right?
Yes.
Those are only 2. Okay. So I guess that makes sense a little bit. It kind of clears it up for me. I just thought it was because, I don't know, the whole physical damage thing bumped up, and then Machinist buffs everybody with physical damage, and that kind of helps that out.
The main issue with Bard is like, yeah, that's right, that they're buffed by the hypercharge, and you didn't really ever see any Bard Machinist comps, but because Bard and Machinist have been buffed against each other so many times, like, they're at the point where they do the same amount they do comparable damage to a caster, but bring way more utility, so it is where it is. Square Enix should balance their game more often, in my opinion.
It was a arms race between the Machinists and the Bards, between each one of these tiers.
Mm-hmm.
And Sfia dropping the call.
Yeah, completely dropped off. That dog. Hold on, he's coming back.
There we go.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. Welcome back. I mean, when we start talking about this stuff, of course, we're going to start talking about meta, and we're going to start talking about game balance and everything else. And it's weird, because I feel like Square Enix balances the game by fights, not by jobs, almost. Like, for example, they force you to do certain things within fights. They say, hey, maybe we're going to make it to where this job is stronger in this fight because of this damage, or because this is how the fight works. And again, Paladin wouldn't be so bad in A12. God damn it. If
Is this a Paladin show?
No, it's not. It's not. This is my example because this is a very clear example that everyone's familiar with. It's the magic damage is so high. It completely unbalances everything. So I mean, it comes into this whole like, people applying buffs to people and debuffing people. And one of my biggest questions, in the future balance of the game is talking about what if they just kind of remove all these buffs from everyone else? Like, I buff you, you buff me. If you're that job, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't play it because I don't work well with you. So you have to put this perfect combination in there. So what if they limited those kind of buffs? Would that kind of balance out the game even more? And with the fights itself, like requiring these buffs and debuffs and everything else.
I think it goes either one way or the other. Everyone has to have raid utility or no one does. Things like Dragoon with both piercing debuff and litany is like too much.
Mm-hmm.
You need to either give a caster an equivalent of that or just take it away from everyone else. Slashing debuff doesn't need to exist. Blunt resistance doesn't need to exist. And then you tune around the numbers that exist there.
Mm-hmm.
That would solve all of that right there.
My issue with that is like, I think my grade group as well, like, and the people at speed kill, like, people enjoy the intricacies of how the classes like interact with each other. So if you take everything away and like the optimizing that you can do, you're gonna end up with a game akin to WoW. And while WoW is like really popular and really good, the fulfillment of playing a class in WoW is nowhere near as high as playing a class well in Final Fantasy, in my opinion. So
Okay.
I think that will happen when we go into Stormblood. Like, I'm pretty sure it will, but I'd prefer it if it didn't.
You prefer if like the mixing and matching of buffs and everything else still existed?
It would probably be a tall task for Square Enix, but if they could do it in some way, like, it would be good, I think.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if they will.
We'll see.
It's the same thing. They need to go to one end of the spectrum or the other, just to make sure that every class doesn't have the situation which we're in now, where Summoner and Black Mage they don't really do enough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And again, this is talking about like in-game, like super hardcore speed racing, everything else. If you talk about just playing, like a group of 8 friends start playing the game and they play through the content, it doesn't matter.
Ignore everything we're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, currently, if you're just, playing the game to have fun, you're not trying to compete and get the highest FF logs, if you just, want to kill internet monsters with your friends, just bring the player, not the job, would be the motto to go with.
And I really think that's an extremely, extremely important lesson that a lot of people need to learn. And mainly because what happens is these metas get figured out. And then these players will say, hey, we have to stick to this meta because if we don't, we can't beat the game, which doesn't make any sense. Or, oh, we're at a disadvantage. And they see the disadvantage because it does exist. But as long as it's not heavy enough to kind of stop you from beating the fight, why does it matter? Right? If it's just...
Entire extra Void of Repentance. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, an entire extra Void. So that's funny because you guys probably don't see it anymore. You don't even know what that is.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
And that's kind of another point to kind of get into is that the fight gets extremely easier with this higher DPS, which is another good reason for bringing a Bard Machinist combo and saying, hey, we're a new group progressing on this fight. We're doing Bard Machinist, Dragoon, Ninja. That's not a bad idea because if you could do enough DPS to skip mechanics at the very end of a fight that are the hardest mechanics, I would say almost the hardest mechanics in A12S,
to
right?
Execute, yeah. To execute, I think, yes.
So it seems kind of insane that even exists. And so does that lead back into maybe fight design is kind of what gears towards like excluding some jobs from being playable? Or not playable, but like being relatively optimal?
Well, yeah.
I think it's sorry, carry on.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, the fight mechanics do directly factor into what the meta is. Like, the reason why casters aren't in the meta is because there's no fights that you really need a caster in. So,
do you guys think they should do that though? Should they force jobs to be put in there with saying, "Hey, this only takes magical damage"?
No,
I think that's a really weak way of fixing the problem.
Right.
Okay. It's just like it's a cop out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And I get you. That does make sense. I feel it's kind of silly to do that kind of stuff too, but how do they balance the jobs out to make it where you will be bringing these jobs. I mean, how else do you do it?
The thing is with like what you're saying, like developing a gimmick like what they did in A7, like you have to bring a caster. Like I imagine they didn't do it this tier just because they knew at some point they would have to just remove it for when it goes into the. Do you know what I mean? When it goes in the duty finder and they nerf it, like I mean, it's going to be removed anyway.
They did the gimmick in T4 before. With there was those ads that come out. One of them absorbs all physical damage. The other type absorbs all magical damage. So the meta at the time was to run 2 caster, 2 physical damage, just to deal with that mechanic right there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, should all parties kind of be in a because Yoshi, I think, has stated in the past that he wants people to be in that kind of standard comp, right? Or am I imagining that? Or he wants people to be 2 tanks, 2 melee, 2 ranged, I guess, and 2 healers. Do you think that that's how we need to keep that kind of comp?
I don't think they've directly said that, but they have alluded to that's something they want. When they were they originally made some changes to Limit Break that they ended up going back on, where it's going to be that you needed to have that composition for Limit Break building.
Is also the fact that for Raid Finder you need a caster.
Mm-hmm. Which is kind of silly. That Limit Break thing was one of the most upsetting things that I've had happen to me, because I went Machinist at the beginning of the expansion, and I had a Machinist Bard combo, and we're like, this sucks. This is the worst combo. But we're like, whatever. I want to play Machinist. You want to play Bard. We'll make it happen. We have a Dragoon. That's all that matters. Nothing else matters as long as we got a Dragoon in a party. And so we were doing content, but then we were gimped, and it was Square Enix explicitly stating, we don't like your setup because we are going to give you less of a limit break. I mean, that's a pretty clear statement, right? So that being stated, I'm sorry, I kind of trailed off a little bit back to like Bard and Machinist and everything else, but I mean, Square Enix kind of making these different little walls to prevent you from having a certain setup. Should there be a standard kind of setup that Square Enix should enforce, or if somebody goes in with 4 melee, should it be okay?
I don't think, like, if this is the standard of the raid content, it clearly shows that you could clear this content with enough gear with whatever comp you wanted. So I don't know if they are trying to enforce like you need a certain setup. So I'm not sure. Aside from what you said about you need the caster to queue through Raid Finder, which is kind of stupid. Like I'm just not sure if they are trying to enforce like that comp on people.
Okay, so you think they kind of backed away from it completely?
I'm just not sure. Like this content is.
It's so hard when we're talking about this content because it's so like inferior and difficulty.
Yeah, pretty much. Like if this is the level and the standard what they're going for, then like, I don't see how they could enforce like a strict like party setup on you. It doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that think that it adds another sort of layer of complexity in choosing what you go into prog with.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can say that Anger just completely outplayed us with their prog lineup. They ran Astro, they ran Summoner.
Are we going to have a world first fight again? Disgusting.
No. Maybe.
Like, because of the options that they have and the fact that they let you do those things, I feel like it adds sort of skill in reading the meta and what's going to be good for a cycle.
Okay. Like between like hardcore raiders, it kind of adds a level of skill that you need to focus on and how to optimize your party. And you enjoy the optimization part of it.
3.0, people didn't realize straight away that, Dark Knight, Dragoon, Ninja was, the DPS comp. You needed to bring this. Like, this is really strong.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you know that, you have an advantage.
Right. Okay. Sorry, I feel like we were going off in this direction and we just kept going, and it's leading away from like the rest of the conversation that we're eventually going to have. But I felt like it was kind of important to talk about anyways, kind of the state of the game, where it's at, and kind of what we can expect later on, which we'll get into a little bit more. Because I mean, this tells us a lot of information because it's evolved from starting in Gordius, going to Midas, going to what we are right now in Creator. the whole meta has evolved, right? But there's been certain jobs that kind of just stuck around, like Warrior and Scholar. They're never leaving anywhere, especially during this expansion. They've been very, very strong. But when we're talking about other different things, for example, Machinist, no one really wanted a Machinist back in early progression, right? In Gordius?
That's before they got buffed.
Yeah.
And then Bard got buffed in retaliation.
Boy, did they get buffed.
Yeah. But a caster always had place, like throughout Midas and throughout Gordius, right?
Pretty much.
They had a place. I'm not sure how it would have looked in Midas with the numbers where they were if you were to run a Machinist Bard Dragoon Ninja comp, like how that would have really lined up.
Saying that, like, I know that there was a group that ran it for the A7 speed kill. I'm pretty sure they did with Rinchan, where they ran Bard Machinist, and I think they got like the fastest time. So
you just add Rinchan into anything, man.
The comp was viable. The comp was viable in Midas. They just wasn't like that. Wasn't your group? Do you know what I mean? Like your caster wasn't playing Machinist or Bard, so there was very few groups that actually had that option to do it.
I gotcha. All right, so it probably just didn't happen in Midas because no one really just took it in that direction, you think? Because everyone was just still playing their jobs and they were comfortable being a Black Mage or a Summoner.
For our A speed kill, like, we didn't run the comp that we actually wanted to run for it. Like, we wanted to ditch the Ninja and go Machinist, Bard, Caster, Dragoon, just because of how much uptime you could get for the mana for the Bard for more foes, but like it just depends on what people can play. I mean, if you have a player that's really good, you don't want to like replacing a player just because a good player because they can't play the meta is not the right, like, it's not the right idea that a group should be going for.
So, I mean, at your level, that's kind of a different statement, because if you define a good player by someone not being able to play a job, that doesn't really go hand in hand, right?
Well, the players that I play should be good enough to play any job, so...
Yeah. And so, and then going back into any kind of mid-level content, I mean, in the end, Summoners, Casters, you guys are great. Summoners, Black Mages, you guys are wonderful for doing it. Just if you're going to do speed killing, bye. Just get out of there. That's the end of that. That's pretty much that whole conversation right there, is that we're leading towards that. Don't give up on casters, guys. If you want to be a Black Mage and you want to send it...
I think...
Go ahead.
So I think that's kind of the biggest issue as well. That people are dropping casters from statics and they're not wanting to recruit casters because it's not the best right now. When in the future, that's what they're going to need. Because everyone has to go through prog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you drop your caster when it's clearly better going into the future, then you're in trouble.
That is the issue. Like, there is casters. Good casters are very sparse, and if they start switching jobs and they don't go back, like, there's not going to be many left. It's a rare breed.
Which is really silly. I mean, we've done it to multiple jobs. We've done it to Monk, all right? We've done it to Paladin. Now we're doing it to casters. And it's just all kind of going down in this line. It's like, oh, if you're not in the perfect 8 comp, then delete that job. We don't want it anymore. Which I think my favorite is delete Astro at the moment. But that's just because I can't stand the way balance currently works. And I don't have fun speed running. Are you guys both speed run right now, right? Are you guys all speed run a little bit? Balana, you don't do it. No. Okay.
I have, but not currently.
I mean, balance pretty much kills the enjoyment of that, does it not?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I mean, you pretty much get a pull every 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah.
It works out to be. Yeah. That's
that's not the issue for at least for us. The issue is some of the speed kills have got to the point now where you're not waiting for that first initial balance. It's how many balances can you how many balances can you get, and if you don't get those, then the likelihood of you beating people is low. So you're basically farming RNG, and it's tedious.
Yeah, and that's
as much as I love balance on myself, I dislike using it as a speed kill.
Yeah,
pretty much.
But I just wanted to make that note real quick. Going back to that whole kind of idea is saying, hey, these jobs shouldn't be played. We don't need to play them anymore. They suck. When it's not really true is kind of a crazy, crazy thought process. And do you think that this is kind of, that doesn't matter that people go out there and they're like, oh, we need to fix Monk. Monk doesn't need to be fixed. The way that the job, how it interacts with the rest of their group probably needs to be fixed. Maybe a fight needs to be fixed with how it functions, or something else needs to be fixed to make these jobs more applicable. do you feel like Square Enix has done a bad job with balance because of this, or have they done a good job and just the player base is looking at it in a certain light and they're just like, whatever, if it's not in a perfect date, we don't care? Who are we blaming right now?
I mean, it's kind of it's a little bit on Square Enix's head, but it's also, on us on deciding, this is what we're going to go with. This is, the best. So screw everything else. I mean, you can still bring a monk. You can still clear the fights with them. That's perfectly fine. So they're balanced in that way, in that they're all viable. But in the end of the day, people are going to crunch the numbers and they're going to get down to the bottom of it and say, oh, this composition's 1% better, or maybe it's 2% better, or whatever. People are always going to find, the optimal situation and then go to that. It's impossible to balance things completely to the way that there won't be a little bit of a mismatch somewhere with some sort of composition. So can't really blame Square Enix too much on that. I mean, they could definitely do things to help bring up the utility of the other classes, but I mean, then that's just going to throw everything in whack again. It's going to be, okay, now it's delete ninja, or now it's delete dragoon.
Right.
It's one really big problem I've seen with the balancing of this game. It happened with Black Mage in 2.0, or 2 point something. It's happened with Bard and Machinist, where something's not balanced, so they just throw potency at it. That's their way of fixing it. And it's happened a bunch, and now we have what Bard Machinist is now.
Yeah, it's knee-jerk reactions, isn't it, rather than like actually probably sitting down and testing like what these jobs can do when they're together.
Yeah. So in the end, if we talked about the differences between the optimal comp versus slightly less optimal comps, are we talking about like a 1% difference? Are we talking about 2% difference? How much of a difference would you guys just estimate?
If you bring a white mage, a paladin,
not
monks,
the worst versus the
a
best.
black mage summoner,
just like
if you
generic
don't
other
do it-
comps.
it's probably a lot bigger than you'd think. I mean, it's not, you can't clear without it. You're making your life harder because, simply put, things like Black Mage Summoner, they just aren't contributing as much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the meta comp at the moment, they all like what's the word I'm searching for? Like they all complement each other so well. It's sick. Like it's sickening. As a summoner, it's sickening how well that composition like runs together.
I gotcha.
And there's I don't know. It feels bad.
Tell you what, though, playing Summoner with a ninja feels amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Hitting every single trick attack with your tridents. Oh.
Yeah, true.
Okay. So someone says something in chat about, giving a job utility. I'm not going to say the name of the job because I said I wouldn't, and we're going to stay away from it. But in the end, when we're talking about like adding in utility, it doesn't matter at all this tier because it's not difficult. Do you think that should be a factor within rating, that utility should be something that needs to be counted on to make jobs better?
I think that's why we do bring casters and prog. That utility, things like Battle Rays, things like Virus, Eye for an Eye, APOC, they're not DPS increases. I mean, you could get DPS increases from them, but the utility that they provide make prog smoother.
Yeah.
It's just that when you turn it from prog into a speed kill, it loses its value.
Right. Yeah. It's like the utility. They bring utility, but this utility isn't giving us damage, so therefore it's useless in a speed kill.
Okay. Leith, you were saying something there for a second. Leith.
I was just gonna say, like in harder content, what Sfia just said, like about Virus and Ifrai, like they are invaluable when you're progressing. Like if you can mitigate more for your tanks, like say back in Midas or Midas and Gordius where stuff was hitting harder, like it was more like prominent. But this tier, I think the healers had quite an easy time, to be honest. At least like good ones.
Okay. Do you feel like Square Enix needs to go in a direction of making fights require more utility?
That's a good question.
Because right now this is a DPS game. Clearly, right?
I think they will just go I think they will go the road of WoW. Like I think that's the road I expect them to go in Stormblood. Like I imagine we'll be playing like jobs that have been stripped bare. So if that's what you like, then that's what you like. But that is like what I think will happen.
The problem with making a fight more dependent on the utility of, say, things like Virus and Eye for an Eye is that as soon as you need those things, you are locked into having those things. So, which is why a scholar is so powerful. You need shields. You need the fairy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're locked into that now. So imagine if they balanced a fight around needing APOC. It gets to a point where you can't actually bring anything else, and it excludes every other job.
But what if they had more solutions than just APOC?
Then that would be fantastic. That would be amazing.
Like they have a few jobs out there that could fill that APOC role. Not with directly APOC, but something similar.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good route to take. Add more damage than tanks can actually take by themselves. And, little things like that, which the utility of things like Virus and I really shine.
Okay. I thought I heard Leith saying something. Maybe I imagined that.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, I gotcha, Mr. FF Logs. Every time I'm like looking at you, like I'm looking at Sfia, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm reading his reactions and everything else. I'm looking at Balana, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm reading your reactions and everything else. Then I'm looking at Leith and I'm like, all right, I got it. It makes sense. Bench Ninja. Skill speed is absolutely amazing. No, spell speed, sorry. Spell speed is absolutely amazing. Rios is the number one at FF Logs, and Kiss of the Wasp has the uptime kind of messed up.
You know who Rios is?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I know Rios.
Oh,
yeah.
Where do you know him from?
He was on the show, dude.
Oh, I know him from FF Logs. Pretty good.
Oh, God. Do you think that happens a lot? Like, people go to FF Logs, looks at the top of it, and then they're like, oh, are you the top of the FF Logs player that I saw the other day?
Probably no. I've never had that happen to me. I don't know about the other guys if they've had it happen to them.
No.
Reddit decided to have a laugh at me last year at the A6S cheese I did.
Dude, you were boosted.
That was the most disgusting one I've ever done, but it's about as much recognition I've gotten from FF Logs.
Which is kind of sad, because I mean, the best players have 100% enhanced balance uptime.
True.
And I think that's just such a silly way. I mean, again, that's another example of how Astros, which again, we don't want to go off on the side conversation about the things that we always complain about, which is Astros and everything else. But I mean, it's how they kind of ruin players' perception on what a good player is. Okay. Anyways, talking about all this, I kind of want to go into maybe what we think that Square Enix might be doing kind of going forward in the future because of what we know now. I mean, you were talking about how, Leif, you were saying that they're just going to strip the jobs down and they're going to be simple based or simple played jobs, right?
Yeah, I imagine that's what they can't add more, can they? Like the bloat on the skills and the buttons, like it's already like at its limit for certain jobs at least, like scholar.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see them going any other way unless, like, I know they're gonna turn some of the abilities, like say invigorate, like all melees will get their own personal kind of invigorate, so there's no more cross class skills and stuff. But
okay,
I just feel like they're gonna strip the jobs back and just make them easier and more accessible for like casual players, which makes sense from like their point of view, to be honest.
So from my understanding of everything is that they aren't really changing the system and how it works. The system's pretty much going to play the same from what I just gathered from everything I've heard from whatever they've talked about on it, from various fanfests and everything else. But they're just going to eliminate some stuff that doesn't really matter. For example, like moves that you would never use, and then also maybe simplifying a couple of rotations a little bit to where you're not focusing as many buffs and dots, right?
My understanding of it was that it's going to be pretty much mostly UI changes, so that your buffs are easier to manage and more intuitive, and then getting rid of ability bloat. Things like Haymaker, Featherfoot are gone. That was my understanding of the combat rework.
Haymaker's great, dude. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, you
get aggro and then you have a move you can use.
What you can do is you can manipulate to someone as a black mage, and if you do it and job swap to a warrior and home gang a striking dummy, it makes the person that you manipulated to dodge the ethereal manipulation, and then they can use Haymaker.
Wonderful.
Pro strats.
Pro strats here on MogTalk today.
Okay.
So, I mean, Balana, you were gonna say something, right?
Just in regards, well, the thing is, they haven't really told us too much about this combat rework that they're supposedly going to be doing. They like mentioned it at Las Vegas Fan Festival and have only really said the same things as they've said there. They're definitely going to be, doing a little bit of an ability crunch. They'll probably strip out, the most least used abilities from each class. But aside from that, they haven't said too much. So it's mostly would just be like wild speculation on things that they could do.
Well, what's the least used abilities for black mages and summoners?
Shorecast.
Tribind.
Okay, excellent.
The thing is, if you strip away skills like Shorecast and Tribind, like they have their uses, don't they? Like in PvP and stuff like that, or say like in A11 where you want to eat a Vuln stack, like you're gonna use Shorecast. So I don't know if those
when you want to like take extra damage so you can do more damage, right?
Well, yeah, you're a black mage, aren't you? You're gonna stand and shit.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Goes
Yeah.
without saying.
So basically they're going to Surecast does have a place. There are some moves that do have places, especially in PvP, right? But then go ahead.
The thing is, these kind of abilities are so niche that I feel like they're kind of not even valuable. I mean, the times that you will use them don't outweigh the times where it's just sitting on your bar, taking up a hotkey, looking ugly.
Okay, fair enough. Soul Survivor. That is one that they need to keep in the game. My favorite ability that I've never used. But
Very strong ability.
yeah, it's like, I know this guy is in my group. He sucks. He's going to die. I know when he's going to die, and I'm going to get a benefit out of it. All right?
There you go.
All right. So going forward with what would kind of happen to casters, what are the biggest issues that we're looking at right now that they need to fix and that we believe they may fix?
0% crit openers as Black Mage.
that I feel you there. I went black mage for AA, and the amount of 0% like crit openers that I got it's heart wrenching. Feels bad.
If the only change they make to Black Mage in Stormblood is giving ley lines crit chance as well, I will be happy.
Or a good gear set maybe for.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah, that's a.
What if they gave you just ability that says within this time frame everything will be crits?
Well, I mean that's probably unbalanced, but
Well, they just make it a weaker job in general to balance it out, right?
some form of internal release would have some merit, I think, on Black Mage. It'd be good.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I mean, you could always spec towards crit as a black mage, right?
The issue is with the gear set, you can't, like, the relic I think is better now, Sfia, isn't it? I'm pretty sure, like, with the relic you can get a better set, but it's not not perfect. Like,
yeah. I guess it sucks until we get the 275 relic, and depending on what the Proto Ultima accessory is, then we might have something like sort of good. But we've been really shit out of luck this tier.
I mean, I was taking that as a joke. I didn't know that black mages would go towards crit. Everyone would go towards spell speed. I thought that was a serious thing.
Oh, we do. You kind of want both. Like, you get a lot of damage,
Thing is-
especially... The thing that makes Black Mage so strong, when it's strong, is that it operates on so many multipliers. So you have, like, a built-in 1.8 multiplier from Astral Fire 3. You've got Raging Strikes, BV Foe, Trick Attack, a crit, got balance card, a pot, Enochian's 0.5. Like, all of these things multiply and then give you a 30,000 damage Fire 4.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're not working within those multipliers, you hit like a noodle.
Okay, I gotcha. Balana, what are your thoughts? Future fixes to these two jobs?
Future fixes. I think they've said they want to make like Enochain a toggle, and then probably give you that damage buff from Blizzard 4 or something like that. Just so you don't have to like worry about dropping your Enochain, just to make it easier for baseline people to get into.
Do you say Enochain?
Enochian?
I always hear
Enochain.
Enochian.
I say the wrong things sometimes.
It's okay. I never do that.
The tricky part for Summoner is when you try to like crunch abilities together or try to streamline things, you run into the issues like, oh well, Scholar has the same traits as them. So like my one idea would be to combine Rouse and Spur into one ability, but Scholars also have Rouse. So how would you be able to do that? You do it with a trait. Well, they have the same traits. So you get into this kind of tricky situation when you're trying to pare down summoner like that.
Yeah,
One
that's a
thing
good
that
point.
really bothers me is that Rouse and Spur have different ranges.
Oh yeah,
One of them's 5 yards longer than the other one, and I have no idea why.
No.
it's yep.
Leith, you were saying
38.
something there? Sorry, Balana,
yeah,
killed you.
I was just agreeing with Balana. Like the changes I'd like to see them do is like mostly pet based. I'd love to see some more interactive and more interactive pets and like more choice, because playing with Garuda for like the past 3 years is I know we have like the Eggy Glamour, but I would like the option to switch it up, and I hope that they do something with the pets in the expansion.
I mean, what could they do with pets though to fix them? I mean, they're just kind of clunky in general, though, right? I mean, it's kind of
Well, it's not so much that they're clunky. It's just that one is so much one's so much better than the other. Like they need some sort of balance. Like, fair enough, you have your tank pet, which is for your solo content, but if it needs like you need to have the option where you can use them. I mean, there was like in Final Coil, there was the like you could use Ifrit when he benefited from like Monk, the thing, Dragon Kick and stuff like that. But now like your dots are too strong, and not taking Contagion, you're pretty much gimping yourself, to be honest.
okay. So
I just want some variety.
there needs to be fixes to balance out pets, and they have 2 pets really. I mean, they have a third one, but Titan, whatever. It's not Ramu anymore. We don't need Titan anymore.
Yeah, no one's going to be using Chicken Nugget and anything apart from solo content.
Yeah, and they're not adding in new jobs because they don't want to, or not new jobs, sorry, new pets, because they don't want to make it more complicated in the end, right? Or they don't.
They did say though, didn't they? I'm pretty sure they did say like live letters like gone by that the other Eggies of the other primals were supposed to come by, weren't they? But they just give up on it to do Dread.
Yeah, they've given up on a lot of stuff with pets with summoners.
Yeah,
But like aside from the pets, I think that Summoner in Heaven's Ward is like they did a great job. I think it's amazing.
So you think it's a pretty solid job overall? Just it's kind of stupid. You have to have Garuda out all the time, or Carbuncle,
Yeah.
I guess now, right?
Ruby Carbuncle though, she's the only one for me. But
Topaz.
like,
I think Summoner plays really well. It's a really smooth, like rotation, and it's really satisfying to get right and manage your Dread Room trances with different phasing. But it just doesn't feel like there's enough.
Okay.
That's all it is.
So when they bring in Stormblood, they don't need to do anything with the job. They just need to fix things with the pet.
they just need to make the class more interactive with your pet, because at the moment, aside from keeping your pet in range, which she does like a lot of damage, like aside from that and Contagion, Rouse and Spur, like you're not doing much with her. Like you don't need to reposition her half the time because she pretty much ignores like most damage. So there needs to be something where you're rewarded for managing your pet better. It's kind of how a really good scholar is shown by how they manage their pet, whereas Summoner, like you can kind of like leave her as long as she's in range. As long as you press some buffs, it doesn't really matter, to be honest.
Okay, I got you. Would you like to see another pet for Summoner?
Yeah, definitely.
Sfia was like, yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
There's just not enough choice.
No.
you just got to bring one that gives you piercing down on your target.
Yeah, there you go. Utility.
Get rid of the
Yeah.
Druid, yeah. Okay, so that's pretty funny. I mean, adding in utility to those jobs isn't a bad solution, because that means you could bring a summoner to fill in the gaps for your composition, and so they could be a gap filler in a way almost. And you would pick your pet depending on the gap that you need to fill.
Yeah, but if you like, Summoner's already really like as soon as there's 2 targets, like Summoner's just gonna eat you alive. Like if you give these jobs too much, like some jobs already have, then like you're just gonna run into balancing issues again. So it's like a fine line they need to tread. So I'm not too sure.
So you don't want any changes to happen because you're afraid. You're afraid, Leith.
Dude, a little bit. I just don't want them to wreck my Summoner. That's what
Well, I mean, like they are gonna wreck a job. I mean, you don't. The caster you're gonna have to compete against is, of course, gonna be Red Mage, right?
Dude, wreck Scholar, wreck Warrior. They've been like, come on, please. Just wreck those jobs.
They just need to do nothing with them. Don't do any new abilities, no anything, and just have everyone else get like new abilities and new jobs, so they can get up to par and level with Warrior and Scholar.
Just remove some of their older abilities and put them at like level 62, 64.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, I mean, he's talked about it. Yoshida, I mean, has talked about how they need to fix that because he understands this is an issue going on in the future. So this is in their mind. They're thinking, hey, this is a balance issue with Warrior and Scholar. So this next expansion, they're not adding a new tank job. They're not adding a new healer job. So I guess their thought process is we're just going to balance the crap out of them. And that's going to be how we're going to introduce a new job for each. We're going to have a new healer and a new tank. They've been in the game. You just haven't played them.
Yeah, it's Paladin and White Mage. Never heard of them. I mean,
exactly.
Strange, such an iconic job like White Mage hasn't been in the game for like the past few months.
Who plays Paladin again?
It's
Someone
me.
that play Paladin?
Yeah, I play Paladin. You know what? I'm in orange for a lot of Paladin fights. You know what? But that's because I don't have speedrun competition. Yeah, I think that when I was looking at FF logs back a little while ago, there's less than 500 Paladins who's cleared A12S. Yeah, I'm in like the top 40 Paladins to clear A12S, guys. I'm only like 91%.
That's still pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's something, right? It's not the worst. Jesus Christ, how did we get back here? So Red Mage, are you guys interested in Red Mage at all? I mean, not knowing anything, let's just think about it. Okay, Red Mage is on par with everyone. All the casters are on par, and you're like, man, Red Mage is kind of cool. Are you going to play it, or are you like, nah, man, I need my pets. I need my explosions.
I mean, Summoners where my heart is, but I want to at least, check out Red Mage, see how it is.
I think thematically it's pretty cool. Like, who doesn't like Red Mage in Final Fantasy?
Right.
But, like, you won't get the same big numbers.
You're just gonna have your little fencing sword shooting out magical beams. Leith, what's your thought on this, dude?
What I'd love to see is it was played around with. I know a couple of groups did it in Final Coil, but I'd love to see a double caster like meta. It would be nice. Like Red Mage caster.
It should exist, and it really upsets me because
switch up.
It was talked about a lot in Gordius, I think, too, having double caster with a bard, right? Because that would increase the damage overall and make it to where you wouldn't need 2 melee if you have a bard in a group instead of a machinist. At least that's the thought process I remember. Maybe I was stupid and I don't know what I'm talking about. Do you guys remember that at all? How you would bringing a bard would be better if you had 2 casters versus bringing a machinist if you had 2 melee. And so it made it viable.
Part of the problem now is that as soon as you bring a bard, you got to bring a dragoon, right? Which means you're not bringing a ninja, and tanks can't hold threat anymore.
Well, if you're bringing a machinist, you got to bring a dragoon.
Yeah, but you can't bring a ninja, which means that your casters are going to die, especially if it's a black mage. The way that tanks scale, because of the way that they changed Vit and Strength to work, mean that they effectively scale at 0.9 of everyone else. So now that we're in Creator, like you rip thread as a black mage like that, and you die. So you need a ninja. So double caster is kind of not really viable because of that.
I mean, it has to be viable going forward into expansion, right? I mean, you have to have Red Mage and plus another caster in there, right?
The thing is, though, Red Mage is a magic damage, and it looks like piercing as well. So you're going to have a Dragoon, Bard, Red Mage pretty much sorted already.
Well, unless they bring the piercing debuff.
Yeah.
They could, which could be pretty interesting.
Then you don't need the Dragoon, and then double caster becomes a little bit more viable there.
And then monks come in, and they're like, hey, I'm back, all of our problems. And I mean, there you go. Yeah. I mean, monks have to be the highlight. They have to be the new Dragoon going into Stormblood. That would be stupid if they didn't do that.
Yeah, you would think so.
So hopefully they'll give them a little bit more love.
Mantra Litany.
Yeah. Mantra's so strong on monk, guys. It's fantastic. Amazing. Especially,
but it doesn't kill the boss faster.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because when it's useful, the boss is already dead. So, that's the cool thing that I always thought about bringing. God damn it! I'm not doing it. I'm not bringing this topic. All right, look. You have to stop me, guys. You have to start pulling me back away from these conversations because when we always talk about bad meta, I love talking about bad meta. But going back to Red Mages in there, we don't really know a lot about them, but we can assume. If we had to take a guess that they were going to bring maybe a piercing debuff because they have the fencing sword, it makes sense that they could make it in there and kind of push Dragoon a little bit more out. So that means that maybe we won't see a Red Mage Dragoon anymore. And we will have a very magic-heavy group, because then we could have Red Mage, we could have Ninja, and we could have Black Mage and Summoner. 3 casters. Triple caster, guys.
Dude, for selfish reasons, I wouldn't want that, because I'd want all the gear, so we'll just keep it out.
Oh god. Yeah.
3 caster gear, yeah. Jesus. Okay, so you guys, it looks cool, but probably not. You guys are probably going to stay Black Mage Summoner, or just see how it plays out. Of course, if it's overpowered, you guys are going to play it, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out at least.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've talked a lot about Summoner pets. We've talked a little bit about Red Mage, I guess, and Black Mage in general. Did we say what we predict them to fix, other than the crit buff that we were hoping for?
I would love that. I think they're going to make it less punishing to drop an Okian. That's
where they can toggle it
make
back
it
and
so
forth.
that you can't drop an Okian, pretty much. One of the two.
Okay.
I hope they don't, because it's actually quite satisfying to get your rotation right and know how much you can push and how much you can't. But I think that's what they're talking about when they say that it's too hard for people.
Okay.
What I would like them to fix is give us raid DPS increases. Make ley lines useful for other people. As much as I dislike the idea of people standing in my ley lines, if it gives people more damage, I'd love that.
Okay.
Just something to contribute to the team, because it's a very selfish job at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, should there be selfish jobs in the game, though? I mean, isn't that like kind of a style almost, in a way? That has been completely phased out, of course, but I mean...
As long as it's balanced, yeah. But that's a really fine line.
I mean, because there's the idea, I think their idea of the balance was, hey, these guys help everyone else do damage, these guys just naturally do more damage, and it'll balance out somehow. That's obviously turned to be kind of a bad idea. Do you guys think that they should balance it more in the future? Maybe instead of just having make the people who give everyone else extra damage do less damage, and then everyone else who does more damage even more, just like buff them up to be ridiculous numbers.
I thought that was the way it was supposed to be.
Well, the thing is, if they go that road, like, the meta then just becomes stacking the job. That, like, stacking those jobs, it's like a seesaw, isn't it? Like, you buff one, then take the other. Like, I don't know. It's like they've dug themselves a hole. So hopefully, like, they change things, and maybe they just need to rework, like, a lot of classes completely just to, like, rebalance everything. I don't want to talk about Astro, but I mean, yeah.
Well, one day we'll have a show where we're talking about jobs and we don't mention Paladin, Astro, and Monk. I'm sure that will happen one day. Dear Lord. All right, so the other part that we need to talk about, which I think is extremely important, we didn't even actually go into a lot of comparison between Summoners and Black Mages, didn't we? We were just like, type of player, people, okay. Value in raid. Let's start being positive about these casters, right? These kind of things that are out there. Being positive towards these different jobs. What kind of values, if you had to promote and you had to sell somebody on caster right now that was like, hey, should I bring a caster or not? How would you say, yes, you need to, and this is why? We've already stated APOC and Quick Res. What else do we got?
That's about it. You know your tank by pulling out the Titan Edgy, but I mean, I guess the pitch would be for summoners, hey, does your team like to stand in mechanics? Can they not get things down? Are they dying every single week? Bring Summoner for Swiftcast Resurrection. I had a run like a couple weeks ago where both the healers went down, 2 of the DPS went down. It's like, Balana, you're up. And I just res, Swiftcast, res, Aether Flow, energy drain, res. And we got back up, killed the fight.
Okay.
Dude, I'd let them wipe.
Huh? You just let them wipe? No, my
Yeah,
part, no, screw it. I still need to get the best parts. People are dead. I'm not going to get a good parts. But screw it. We need to wipe it anyways.
I still had a 90% parse with that, so it's not too bad.
Yeah. That's saying something, right?
Dude, my rule is I'll res a healer, but anyone else, yeah. No.
You're never going to help the healers res somebody else?
How am I going to beat Rios on FFXIV if I'm resing people? It's not going to happen.
Oh my god. So summoners. They are the rezzers of the group. They also offer virus, though. They prevent damage, right? So
I mean, ideally you shouldn't have to res because that summoners have a very strict MP to damage kind of conversion now with how Ruin 3 works.
Okay. So, but I mean, progression is going to happen. First clears, someone's going to die. I mean, okay, maybe not. Maybe that's wrong. Okay. The very, very first clears, no one's going to die because you have to have enough DPS, unless you're doing creator, which maybe you don't need all the DPS.
I died in every fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we're talking about the general idea of bringing a summoner is just they have this extra utility, and you could use virus to reduce damage overall, and you can put that in your rotation, and it just helps your healers out in general. And it does increase their damage, right? Yeah?
Theoretically.
Theoretically, it should increase the healer's damage because you have a virus, and it reduces how much they have to heal, right?
Yes.
Are you guys just agreeing with me to agree with me?
It's just the tricky part is because Scholar brings the exact same thing. Your other... actually, Astros don't have virus, do they?
They have disable.
Yeah, right. So you get that, it's the super virus issue you run into. I mean, it was super useful to run double caster back in Twintania because that meant you had 4 viruses. You could hit it on every single, what was that move? Death Plunge or something like that? Death Sentence, yeah. You could virus every single Death Sentence because there's no antivirus. Yeah. So it's just, this is coming up. Oh, throw another virus out there. Throw another virus. You had a virus rotation for everybody doing it onto that thing. But now that you can't do that anymore, the utility's a little bit less just because of how prominent Scholar is.
I think that most fights do, like, I know Midas at least, and part of the creator, like, some things come in 60-second cycles, and obviously virus is on, is it 90 or 80? Like, so your antivirus is on, you get a 60-second debuff, so if you take the summoner, then, they can virus again what the Scholar can't. So virus, it does have its uses in prog, at least, I think. And the trait Eye for Eye is really good when it procs.
Okay.
I think something you just touched on then is really, really good for Summoner in that fights are quite often designed in 60-second segments, which is really, really good for the Summoner rotation. Which means that you can go in there, first pull, and do 70-80% of the damage that you're going to do when you clear. Which is awesome because you're consistent as soon as you go in. And a lot of jobs don't have that the same ease of learning.
Mm-hmm. And summoners in general are more mobile, right?
Oh
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Right. So it's better for players who are learning mechanics and they have a hard time moving out of the way and predicting things. And they're more reactive players in the end because they have to react to what's going on because they don't remember it. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
A Black Mage, though, is really good if you don't like running around and planning where you can plant yourself, right?
Yes. You have a higher potential single target DPS, but in a tier where you're in there for 2 days, you're not going to get it.
Right.
In Midas and Gordius, you had the time to learn the fights and actually map out exactly how you're going to play everything before you killed it.
Okay.
Especially when, there was a DPS check, think A3, think A4. You needed the damage.
Okay. So
but you don't now.
That's just adding that extra damage in. Well, I mean, in the end, they don't bring that extra damage anymore in discussion of meta, but because I mean, when you're talking about like the optimal comp and everything else. Anyways, but go ahead. Sorry.
Also, Black Mages are really, really good at returning to damage once they've died. You press Blizzard 3, Fire 3, and you're off again.
Yeah.
On most other classes, you are done for a while. You're contributing nothing.
Yeah.
Because you're likely going to die because you don't like the move. Okay. If you had double caster, then the summoner could res you.
It's match made in heaven.
All right, and the other thing, of course, is APOC, right? And that's really good for progression. Huge. The thing is, and this bugs me. Again, when we talk about utility and raids and everything else, people forget utility exists. But it will make a big difference in the end if you get a proper APOC off, right?
Yes. A12 especially. We actually went in after our 3rd or 4th lockout to try out Summoner and realized just how good APOC was for the way that the damage comes out in A12. Things like the cleave, tank buster cleave, is a 10-second cycle. So you can cover pretty much 3 big hits on your tank, and it's all magical. You can cover 2 half gravities, and you can cover an entire Holy Scourge. And that's massive, having that.
And I can tell you, almost every single black mage I play with does not map out APOCs in a fight.
Something that's really bad about APOC, though, is because your rotation isn't set, you're going to be somewhere different every single time that you get to the point where you need to use APOC because of procs putting you in different places. And there are times where you have to APOC and refresh at the same time. And you just either let your tank die or let your damage die.
I mean, you just
think
set
that's
up a
something that should
macro,
be varied.
right?
Well, the thing is, it can delay because you have to get your timing right. You've got a 2-second window and a GCD of over 2 seconds.
Okay.
So
Right.
it can make timing really, really tough. And there are situations where you actually can't get them both off.
Right. And then, of course, you have Mana Wall, right? Or is it Mana Wall or is it something else? So I keep mixing that up with someone.
Mana Wall and Mana Ward makes Black Mages really tanky, and you can survive most mechanics you see first time.
And you get
is
A12,
actually,
right?
It's actually really, really important in prog, seeing the next mechanic. So you pop all your defensive buffs, Evit pot if you've got it, and then just try and stay alive to see what's happening next. And if you're doing it blind, that's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big disadvantage to Summoner, and like it was more prominent in Midas in that they had no defensive cooldowns at all. You could virus, but your Scholar's probably already taken care of that.
Eye for an eye?
Yeah, you could look getting that to proc on fights, like exactly when you need it.
Right.
Especially because the way that bosses like to do damage now is they'll land from a phase change, auto attack once, and then do their mechanic. So you've got one auto to proc your Eye for an Eye, and it sucks.
Yeah. That being stated, I've started to find those with Sheltron. All right, done with it. All right, we went in that direction, but I had to just say that. It's absolutely amazing. Huh? Go ahead.
Is this the Paladin show again?
No, it's not, dude. It's not. You forgot your icons. Like, you have the X of, like, Summoner and the X of Black Mage, but you're missing, like, 3 other icons in there that we need an X over. I don't understand what's going on there, dude.
I'll make a new one for next time, right?
Yeah, make a new one for it, because you're too scared to get on a webcam. What?
Wow.
Top of FF logs, not top of cams, dude. Come on, we got 2 people camming you here, dude.
Dude, look at the meme. I'm not top of FF Logs. Royce Shan is top of FF Logs.
Rose. So tell me that joke real quick. I have to understand these jokes because I feel like I only understand half the jokes that are in your picture right now.
What it is Riaz went to, like, Angad went to Abu Dhabi, didn't he, and Japan. When, on the video of when Riaz was in Abu Dhabi, they spelled his name wrong and it stuck. And it really triggers him, so that's why everyone calls him Royce Shan now. That's the meme.
Okay. And so next time I talk to him, should I try this? Would it be okay? Would it end well?
I mean, you can try it. You can tweet it to him if you want to see what he says.
Okay, I gotcha. Then I got a ninja on a bench.
I mean, yeah. Some things I can't talk about. Some things only some certain people know about.
Okay.
Secret memes.
It's the secret memes. All right, I gotcha. And of course, Black Mage being on the very bottom of everything, because you think Black Mage sucks, right?
No, I don't think I like Black Mage. I just prefer Summoner. I mean, most casters have their preferred one that they like to play.
Mm-hmm.
So
I gotcha. It's funny. In my group, we play when we're doing progression. My caster will play Black Mage the entire time, throughout all progression. Then he switches to Summoner when he's like, "Yeah, I know to fight now. Now I'm going to do Summoner." I don't understand that.
He's backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand that whole concept because it's easier to do a fight as a Summoner versus as a Black Mage, right?
Typically, yeah.
Learning
Usually,
progression.
yeah. Usually it is. True.
And so I've never understood that because he comes out and he does way more damage as a Summoner afterwards too. It's like, why don't you just stay Summoner the entire time? Why would you ever start with Black Mage? But apparently it's just because he likes Black Mage.
Sfia brought up a good point though. Like, dying on a Black Mage is like it doesn't really matter as much. Like, you'll get the damage down debuff, but dying on a Summoner and not having like Aether Flow in your Swift cast straight away, yeah, it's really bad. Like really, really bad.
So
yeah,
you're
like
telling
the
me,
damage is tanked.
are you telling me the caster in my group just understands he's going to die, and so he knows it's easier to play a black mage because if he dies,
Maybe.
he can recover? Okay, I
That's
got
what
you.
it sounds
Possibly.
like.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's go into this next little segment here, which is really for those that are still playing casters right now. And Sfia, Leith, you guys still love casters and understand casters, even though you've gone to the dark side of the meta right now, right?
Yep. Yep.
So if someone is playing, let's start with summoners here. Let's just talk about summoners first. If you're playing a summoner, have you guys seen some summoners make like a lot of a certain type of mistake that they need to avoid making?
It's important to remember your ABCs, especially as a summoner. Always be casting. So even if there's, some point in the fight where you're not sure what to do and you're running around, you're here and there, just keep hitting that Ruin 2 button. You're going to take a little mana hit, but I mean, just keeping up that GCD lock is an important thing to do.
Mm-hmm. I think that goes for everyone. That's like a really, really important. It's not just casting, but always hitting your GCDs. Just always hitting something. You should always see that little cooldown timer going every single time, because you want to get the most out of every single job you play. And if you're not casting something, and this is where healers have their whole big issue, right? Healers will get stuck in healing mode and they won't cast anything because they're like, I don't know if I should or not. But in the end, because they're not using those GCDs, they are doing way less than they could be doing. But okay, Leith.
I don't really usually see like many summoners streaming, but from like looking at logs and stuff, and from the ones that I have seen, like summoners, like it's simple. Like once you know what you're doing, it's quite simple, and you just revolve around the 60-second cycle where you use your 2 stacks, and then you're waiting on your Tridisaster timer to go past 30, and then you can use your last Aether Flow stack. I see lots of summoners use Tridisaster outside of Dreadtrance, and it's bad. Like you should be using your Tridisaster in Dreadtrance for the buff dots, and then Contagion in them, and also like pets out of range, of party buffs, or just out of range of actually attacking the boss and stuff. But like I said, there's not many streams and stuff that are available to watch from summoner POVs, I don't think.
Okay, so summoners just. Do you think that summoners in general just are not bad? They're just good players. They do fine.
I think a good summoner is quite rare, but I think you can be a bad summoner and not look as bad as you are, if that makes sense.
So they don't have like a, I guess, what would you call it, a low skill floor or a high skill floor? Like you can get into it and the curve just isn't really that big when you become like an average summoner versus a good summoner. They're pretty much in the same ballpark.
No, like as long as your dot's up and you're attacking, like your pet produces so much damage for you. As long as your pet is hitting it and your dots are up, you're doing like the majority of your damage already. So it's only how you line up your buffs and how you like your class interacts with the rest of the party where like the good players shine and like they go to like, do you know what I mean, like the next tier of damage that you can do. But I feel like you can be a pretty bad summoner as long as you're putting the potency out. Like you probably won't look as bad as you are.
Okay, you can kind of cover that skill up a little bit. All right. So if we're going to talk about black mages, then is that a different situation? Do black mages not make a lot of issues, or are there not a lot of places for them to trip up on?
There's a lot of places for black mages to trip up.
Okay.
I think the biggest one I see, which is not that intuitive, is outside of your opener, Sharpcast should be used on Thunder every time. Keep your Sharpcast and Enochian like synced up wherever possible. You won't be refreshing exactly on 60. Let your Enochian fall off on your 3rd cycle. Like, it feels really natural once you know how that works. It's just you have to just keep doing it and repeating it. I think something else that a lot of summoners don't do is, 1, keep their GCD on cooldown again, and 2, slidecast. Because you have such long GCDs that slidecasting can take you a really long way. And if you don't have to move, don't.
Well, you're the king of slide casting, being from like a 300, 500 ping area. I'm assuming, all right?
Yeah. I get a lot of slidecast.
But I mean, like, if you have a really good ping, is slide casting even a thing? Can you even like get a slide cast off? Say you're in Japan on Japan servers.
Yeah, I can slide cast. I used to be able to cast leeches while running and not stopping. Yeah,
Nice.
that's how bad it was. But I got better net more recently. So.
Yeah, and slide cast is really a skill that people just have to learn and kind of get a good feel for, because it's going to be different also with your internet and how your internet is working. Everyone's going to slide cast a little bit different at a different point, and they just have to kind of get a feel for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a comfort thing. Typically, like, it'll be about 0.5 seconds from the end of your cast, so just look at the bar, get used to it. It's all feel. You have to just practice.
Yeah. I mean, I used to have to do it a little bit with Machinists back in the day, and I'm sure you guys are doing it with Machinists now, right? This is a skill that takes you across multiple jobs, no matter what the meta is.
Slide casting is good on everyone. Healers, Bard, Machinist, Black Mage Summoner. If you've got cast bars, do it.
Except for monks. Monks don't have to slide cast, right? No, you just run around and act like an idiot.
No cast bars.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, any other general advice you would want to give to people who are trying to play casters at all?
If you're just picking up Summoner, go look up High's Tome. It's a little bit intimidating in its size, but it gives you a really good groundwork and kind of a good explanation of how Summoners work and how they should be played. I mean, it's a little bit dated. I helped him revise it and edit it a little bit for 3.4, but it has good fundamentals. If you really want to dedicate yourself to reading a 50-page Word document.
Mm-hmm. Is there a Black Mage version of that somewhere out there?
No.
I think Black Cat made a guide, and it's literally just Fire 4. That's all you need to do. If you're playing Black Mage, just try and get as many Fire 4s in a fight as you can. Aim for 25 casts per minute. You're good.
Man, Black Cat's pretty cool. I had him on the last caster show we had here. Is he still running around, just running on Black Mage? Is he doing anything different these days? Has he transferred over to the Machinist life?
I don't actually know. I haven't seen him around much.
Yeah, I think he's still playing Black Mage, as far as I know, for Dynamo right now.
Okay. Guys, you're not giving me a lot of advice. I was expecting you guys to have, like, books and, like, all these kinds of crazy examples of things that went bad and horrible with casters and all the other stuff.
Don't do A11 as Black Mage. That's the best advice I can give you. That fight sucks. It's really bad.
I mean, how do you guys like A11? I mean, just in general, being a caster, I mean, you hate it because of a caster, but as a fight itself, how do you guys feel? Do you still hate it as a fight?
I think it's the worst fight ever made.
I did 11 as Black Mage once, and like, oh god, why did I do this?
Leith, I'm sorry, dude. I'm trying. I can't. This isn't pronounced properly. All right, so what do you think about A11, dude?
A11 as a summoner, it's great, fine. Like, some of the skips can be a little bit, like, because there is so many variants of like what you can skip. Like, some are bad, some are good, but Black Mage, no, just don't do it. Unless your group is willing to build a strat like around you, then no, like I just wouldn't.
I guess a little bit of advice I could throw out there for like A11 on Summoner is there's so much downtime in that. Just go ham with Ruin 3. Yep. Like, especially during the first phase, even if you're not skipping anything, you shouldn't be hard casting Ruin 1 at all. Just Ruin 3 everything. And then during the limit break, you're able to or limit cut, sorry. You're able to get your MP back from Bard or Machinist songs.
Okay.
Yeah. Make sure you refresh your dots as well while he's immune, because you can do that. Every class should be doing that, though. Everyone should know about it.
So, yeah, well, I mean, when you're talking about clipping and refreshing dots, do you guys wait for the dot to fall off, or do you always try to hit it right before, like when it's in 1 second, or do you just try to line it up perfectly right there?
Depends how much spell speed you're running and like what your gear is, but like usually you want to be aiming for 1 second.
Yeah, you don't want it to drop off because you're potentially losing a tick there. Mm-hmm. But the safest place to refresh your dots is when it's under 3 seconds, because you could potentially have a tick there, you could potentially not. So if you refresh in that range, you might lose a tick, or you might not. But you don't want it. The one thing you don't want is it to completely fall off.
Right, and I think that's like an important thing for people to understand, because being good at your job in this game also is understanding how the game works. And dots is one of the biggest factors that a lot of people will be confused about. When you cast a dot, it's going on a 3-second timer, a global 3-second timer, right?
But it doesn't necessarily start when you cast it. It's the timer is decided, I think, when you zone into the instance. There were some people who did a lot of testing on it a while ago.
I thought it was when the mob that you hit spawned. It started its own internal 3-second timer.
Right.
I think.
Like every mob has its own timer?
Yes.
I thought it was just like
that's why regions don't tick at the same time as dots, because you zone in different to the mobs. It's awful.
I think people did this during the wasn't it during like A6 during the bug? Like wasn't that when people like had theories, didn't they? Like you zone in and you pull on like server tick and stuff like that.
Yeah. There used to be a Black Mage opener where you had to pull on the server tick and it sucked.
I remember that was the Blizzard one, was it? I'm pretty sure it was Blizzard 3.
I think that was the
Blizzard
6
5,
Fire 4 before we had like the quality of life changes to Astral Fire.
That's kind of crazy to think, because I always assumed everything was just at that 3-second mark. 3 second. There's just some invisible timer in the background, and it's like things are going to happen at this 3-second hit every single time. No? Okay.
If you put if you put like a region on someone, you can like kind of game it and see like when the actual tick is if you want to pull on it.
Okay.
And then to further complicate it, Shadow Flare is on its own separate timer because you're targeting the floor.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, your Shadow Flare doesn't tick at the exact same time as everything else.
So the floor has a separate tick timer?
Yep.
Good game, right?
No, it's a good game. It's just the system. You have to understand how that system works, and it's confusing for a lot of people. I mean, I don't mind it as long as I understand it. That's the whole deal. Like, I just have to understand what's happening, and that's not declared anywhere. They don't state that anywhere, but you have to kind of figure that stuff out. Which is very good. I'm glad you told me that. So when I go summoner one day, I got it. But and you laugh, but I did play summoner at some point back in 2.0.
Was it good?
It was good. I love summer. Oh, it was so great.
Oh,
that was my DPS back in the day. But I sucked. I wasn't good at it, but I loved it because I was like, I'm just putting dots up on things. You don't got a dot, I'm going to give you a dot, and I'm going to give you a dot, and it's just like whack-a-mole of dots, and I thought it was fun. But now, and then when you could spread it, that's amazing. I played Scholar for Midas, and so that was, I couldn't do an expert without playing Scholar because I need to get dots off on everything. But zoning out into my past, we should get some black and white stuff going on and some little montages, but other advice that we can talk about here, I guess, I don't know. I'm trying to think of it because I thought that was a really good one and we were going somewhere with it. Oh, yeah, I wanted to go turn by turn. Are you guys okay with that? Because we were talking about A11 and you had a lot of good tips for A11. I feel like it might be useful to actually start hitting up these other turns and kind of give general advice for these turns as they enter into these fights. And so A9, what could you tell players to do to improve their damage output and their survivability? I guess is another way to put that.
Really? Are you sure?
Yeah. A9, it's not just a target dummy, right? You gotta do stuff. You gotta move. Okay. You gotta move square.
A9 guide. Do a GIMP opener and then blow your load on when all the ads like gather together. Grats.
Pro padding advice.
Grats.
It's Yawnpigs 2.0. Exactly what it is. The whole fight.
Oh, so you guys just wait on the ads.
Yeah.
If you want to increase your personal damage in A9, then that's all you do. But if you want to increase your kill time as a black mage, you literally don't AoE.
Okay.
Yeah, you're single target turret, aren't you?
I got
It depends, like, what do you want advice on, like, because do you want advice to people who are, like, speed killing, because they probably won't be doing it with a caster, or just, like, in general?
Both. I mean, just in general, advice is pretty good. Speed killing could be good, too, for some groups going in there. Just anyone going in there for any purpose, whether it's clear for their first time, whether it's to clear just weekly to make things a little bit easier that they could have done that you didn't realize till a little bit later, or optimizing fully.
If it's for your, like, casters are selfish. If it's for your personal DPS, then you want to pile as much potency as you can on as many ads. So as a summoner, you have Death Flare, Pain Flare, Bane. You have Aerial Blast buffed from your pet. You have Aerial Slash. Like, you have a lot of instant potency that you can just put straight out to the detriment of your team. but it makes you look good.
So
Whereas
the astrologue's advice. Okay.
pretty much. But if you were going and you were going for a speed kill, you would be looking at what is efficient DPS, and you would have to do a certain amount to the boss, and this is why Summoner is not taken. Like Summoner on paper would be a great job to take to A9, but it doesn't do enough boss damage. That's the issue. And the other classes can do the AoE and not lose the boss damage that Summoner does.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to make a trade of single target damage for your AoE, while other classes are able to put out that AoE while still keeping up their boss damage to a comparable rate.
Okay. What about Black Mage going into A9?
It's pretty much what I said before. If you want to kill it fast, you just hit the boss the whole time. You dummy, you pretty much never really have to move except for a scrap line. You'll be killing Faust on the first platform, so you don't really need to move the whole time.
Not for the first clear, you won't be killing it on the first platform.
Oh no, you won't.
No.
For the first clear, you may need to move around the boss. That's about as hard as that fight gets.
Okay, I gotcha. A9. It was so depressing after going through A5. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like A5, I thought was a wonderful first fight because it had just a handful of mechanics. And it was just kind of silly, and it didn't really matter too much. And it took a little bit of work. It wasn't just dummy parsing, but A9 is a dummy parse. Mm-hmm. Do you guys feel about the same there, or am I kind of alone on that?
It's a pretty straightforward fight. Once you figure out, you don't even need to do the alarms so much anymore. That was the one hiccup we kind of hit during our initial prog. Is like, oh, how do we avoid this scrap line and everybody? Oh, you mini yourself. We were trying to mini the ads. We were trying to mini other things in the room. It's all this crazy stuff. And like, oh, I guess it has to be us. So.
Yeah.
I just feel like if it was tuned harder, and you had to actually do more of the mechanics, towards the end of the fight, like it could have been a bit more interesting. But yeah, after going from A5, which was like a breath of fresh air, to A9, it was kind of disappointing, at least for me anyway.
Yeah, I think A5 was one of the best first fights they've had, and at least definitely during the expansion. Personal preference. Okay, A9 easy, we don't care. A10. What are some tips you can give summoner wise? And Leith, I'm going to start with you because I know you have wonderful tips, right?
Yeah, I've got a tip for you, but anyway.
Fucking. All right. All right, keep going. No, that's fine.
Depending on your push times, like A10 can be quite generous to summoner, or at least it used to be able to. Like, you used to be able to get if you get the ad spawn still in your group, like you can bane that, you can get your shadow flare down if the tank doesn't pull it too far away. Like, there's only certain situations in that fight where you can gain, because obviously summoner's single target does somewhat lack compared to a black mage. Those two instances where there's an ad, you need to be AoE in to kind of make up the difference, but invariably it's a black mage fight, like hands down a black mage fight.
Okay. So would you agree with that, Sfia?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's a black mage fight.
Obvious from the start, especially when you start skipping ads, not getting the banes that you could have. It's even more favorite to black mage. One thing is that in prog, you probably need to bring a caster for LB on the ads.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. They actually kind of required that.
If you had low DPS or really low gear, you pretty much you would be seeing ads.
You guys all did that for your first strat, right?
Yeah. But you could also bard LB it.
Yeah, true.
It's less consistent.
Less consistent.
Safe.
Yeah.
Okay. Good point. It does less damage. That's true. Bard, AoE, limit break does less damage overall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's true. Slightly less damage.
Yeah. Okay. So, any other little bits that you kind of ran into, Sfia, when you were doing it?
Sorry, repeat.
Any other little bits of tips, things that you ran into with that, besides just be really good because you're a black mage and you do single target damage?
Most of your damage loss is going to be from, not preparing your transitions into Steamroller and out of Steamroller. Depending on your push timer, you may not have Sharpen and Nokian up for the transition, so you need to be thinking ahead. That's probably the biggest part where people trip over.
Okay. Balana, did they miss anything?
No, I think that's about it. I don't really have too many crazy tricks for A10. It's a pretty straightforward fight
Right.
for the most part.
I mean, like, it's funny you say that. I mean, most of the fights pretty straightforward except for A11, which is kind of a cluster with pushes and everything else. I mean, in the end, it's kind of straightforward too, but it's just annoying for black mages, that is, right?
I mean, I guess there's just fewer little kind of tricky situations that have I know unique solutions for.
Okay. So the guy driving by your house has some situations that he wants to talk about. There.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so we already talked about A11 a good bit. A12, is there any scenarios there that you could kind of pinpoint to that really helped you improve as a caster on that fight, besides switching to machinist? Let's have a good discussion there about being caster on A12. Let's do it.
There's a few things that I'd say about A12 as a summoner at least. You can pad yourself pretty hard on the ad phase if you really care about that, but then you're kind of screwing yourself over a little bit for the next ads where you kind of, with the 4 of them you have to take down. So you can either blow everything right there to boost yourself, or you save a little bit and spread it out. For the time stops, your Shadow Flare will continue ticking, but the countdown will stop. So make sure you have at least 1 second of that before the time stop happens. But the time stops are also 10 seconds, so you want 10 seconds of dots going into that. So it's okay to do a little bit more aggressive clipping there, because you're going to make up for the ticks later down in that. As long as it's over 80 potency, then it's worth it to do the clip going into the time stops. There's a swag strat you can do where right before time stops, if you summon your pet, it'll continue acting during the time stop. So if you swift cast Garuda like right before you get stopped, then the animation happens and it comes up. It's a little tricky to land, but it might be worth it. I haven't really done the math on it to see. It's worth blowing all that MP on it.
Yeah.
But
okay. Leith, do you know about this? Have you ever done it?
Yeah, I knew about it, but no, I haven't tried it. I know that it worked with the machinist turret, I think, as well. Was another thing.
Mm-hmm.
As far as A12 goes, it's like what Balana said is right. Like if you're going for if what you care about is your personal DPS, then more than one target. Most summoners, if you see them high on FFXIV, they will save the aerial blast. Like they will save some cooldowns to pad on those 8 ads. You will invariably like multi-dot 2 of the next 4, and then you will multi-dot the time and might. What he said about clipping during the time stops is right, and then the rest of the fight is like it's quite self-explanatory. It's just single target, and you shouldn't you can. I have done it. You can go into the time gates and kill it quite easily, but I wouldn't recommend it. I think the meta strat at the moment of having your ninja LB one and kill the other is much better.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I did the time gates for our first clear, and it's really for taking care of that. Just don't hold back in there, really, because you'll wipe your blow all your MP on Ruin 3s, go ham with Try Disasters and things like that. Just because if you mess up and you don't do well down there, you're just wiping your entire raid. So it's better to take the hit, of wasting your cooldowns in there, just because it's for the benefit of the entire raid.
Okay.
And you can step it down once you get more comfortable at it, but when you're first going in there, just go completely ham.
All right. Our resident black mage here. Do you have any advice?
Don't do time gate. It's really bad for black mage. You have to save your Enochian for 30 seconds, so you're just 2.0 rotationing it for a really long time. Outside of that, you don't really want to be doing communions either. If you can kill it before it's good. You just have to sack a bunch of globals, and that's not fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think you do better in different parts of the ad phase than you would as a summoner. You don't have the AoE burst on the 8 ads, but you've got way better damage on the 4 ads. And I think pretty comparable if you sharpcast and get Thunderclouds on both the time and might. But I think Black Mage is really good in this fight because of APOC.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know where to use it and map that out with your tank, it makes a really big difference.
All right. Yeah, I mean, that would be, again, my general advice. If you guys have utility, please be using utility, especially if it's on an OS GCD and it doesn't cost you anything to use it. Just do it.
Like, don't just like you need speak with your group and like see where you can use it. And then like find a point where it's good for the tank, like where he may not have a cooldown and stuff, or you could stack something with it to mitigate a buster or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right in what you're saying. Like, please use like your utility and stuff. It's like they give it you for a reason.
There's no reason not to. I mean, it's the same thing with tanks who don't use all their cooldowns. You should. Go ahead.
Do you want to know another meme?
Yeah.
If people go into Angud's A7 speed kill back from Midas and look on Rafter's cooldowns, maybe the chat can tell me like what cooldown's missing from the entire.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm sure some people here are very familiar with that. There you go. Rafter apparently is immediately familiar with it. But in the end, you should be using what you can use. I mean, you don't see it, and I think this is, again, another issue that's going on just with players who are trying to get better, is that they're blinded by DPS meters. And they think they're good players if they have high DPS. In the end, you're a good player if you use everything you can to the best of your ability, whether you see it happening on your parse or not. I mean, do you guys think that that's like an issue with mid-core players at the moment? I think it is, but...
I think a really big issue is that there's such a huge discrepancy in the numbers that a person doing the exact same thing can produce in a fight now. So people might do an 80th percentile pass where they've actually done everything nearly perfect, but they didn't have a Bard Astro. So they think, I'm doing something wrong. This guy is better than me. Whereas it's not really the case at all. You have to be looking at your cooldown usage, your cast per minute, and just making sure that you're, doing the right stuff.
Right. I mean, your DPS is group dependent a lot of the times. I mean, that's something I think people just don't understand at all. And that's when we get into these mindsets of, hey, look, I got to be higher. I got to feel better about myself. I got to have a better parse. If I'm not in a perfect group, I'm not even inspired to do anything, because I feel like I'm less than other people, and I have lots of excuses for why I'm less than other people. And that's just a weird thing that's been bothering me. In the end, I think it's cool for people to strive hard and have really high parses and try to do better, because that's something to do, right? It's something that's fun to do. But people also base their worth as that job based on, hey, I need this as a parse. And they say, screw it, I'm not going to play, I'm not going to raid anymore because I can't find a group that has this perfect comp. And that's kind of annoying to me. What is your opinion on it, what I'm saying? Do you guys agree, disagree? I need someone to fight back with me a little bit here.
I ran this entire tier without a Bard, so rip all my FF logs for this tier.
Yeah. Leith?
I think like if FF logs as a metric was like really good to some extent in Midas, apart like this tier you really need to look for the non-cheesed passes if you're looking to like improve as a player. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and if the average player is looking at maybe the top pass, they might be kind of misled by it and how they came to be that high. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I do think people are swayed like by wanting to do more damage, but I would always take the player over, like, say for instance, they don't do top tier damage, but they're really good mechanically and they're consistent, and they need to do like a certain level, but to me that doesn't matter. Like, as long as they're consistent mechanically and like the good person and stuff, like, it's fine.
Okay.
At least for me anyway.
Sfia, I need your piece on this.
I think unless you're speed killing, and if you're a caster you're not, then it doesn't matter. Just get your weekly clear.
Okay, just get the weekly clear, doesn't matter. I gotcha. I don't know. I like going in groups and helping people out when I can. I feel like that's 10 times more enjoyable than doing just a regular weekly clear or a speed kill. Just getting a first clear for other people is always more exhilarating to me than anything else that I can do. But that's just another personal preference here.
The thing with speed killing is it's the competition. Like, do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the competition between groups, which is the nice part.
The competition
that-
isn't there anymore. I mean, I guess it is, but
No, it is. It is. It's there. Like,
but it's the RNG competition. It's rolling dice. You're rolling dice. That's who can roll better dice.
Pretty much, yeah. It is like a test of wills who will stick out the longest to farm, like the balance. But I mean, the competition still is there in whatever form it takes.
The speed killing meta also really shows off consistency. Because when you do get that god run, you need to play perfectly, global for global, every single time. So when the cards come in, you actually get the top time.
Yeah. Would you guys recommend this? And this is something that someone gave me advice on before, is if you're progressing on a fight, you haven't cleared it first, using FF logs, if you're going to try to use it, look for someone who has a really good parse, then look at their first kill. Don't look at their most recent kill. Look at one of their first kills that they've done and see what they did in that first kill to get the kill. Because then you can kind of get a mild idea about what they did. There's a good player because he obviously cares about his numbers and parsing and everything else. So maybe they have a good set of rotations for the first kill.
I don't know. I know for a lot of my first kills, I wouldn't want to go off of those rotations anymore because as you kill it more and more, you're refining your rotation. So maybe not look at their highest one, but maybe their most recent one.
Well, their most recent one could be. Well, okay, I gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a recent one in a bad comp. But if they're, oh god, I can't do the meme. I was gonna say if they're a caster, then they're already in a bad comp, but.
If you're looking at a black mage's first kill in creator, they probably haven't spent enough time in there.
Okay.
And you do need to look at a more recent one.
Okay.
Like strats change, things get made more popular, which greatly improve your damage. Yeah, the first kill is never going to be pretty.
Well, I mean, the other thing is, like, the more recent kills you're looking at, like, people who have high DPS probably already, and they're skipping mechanics, and they're doing things differently than a progression group would, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
It's true.
You need to find a kill that's maybe not a first kill, but you need to find one comparable to like your group's DPS. You know what I mean?
Like a time that you're thinking.
Yeah, like you may be able to find. You may be able to see when they use cooldowns and see if that's like applicable to where you like push phases and stuff. But as far as first kills go, like it's rare that someone has like someone. No one's like perfect on a first kill. Like that's all it is. Like you're killing it. But yeah, I wouldn't use it as a metric, to be honest.
Okay, good enough. We had our little talk about parses and logs and everything else. The criminal activities of playing Final Fantasy XIV. So let's talk about pretty much the last bits of this segment, which is viewer questions. Are you guys ready for the viewer questions that have accumulated throughout the show?
Let's bring them on.
I don't know how many there are, and I don't know if your friends have asked you a lot of questions. Now is the time for them to ask questions, though, because this will be a shorter viewer question segment if you guys don't ask questions. If you have any actual questions about real advice, if you want to know about what kind of shampoo Balana uses in his beard, ask these questions. Go ahead. And we have Karara there collecting all the questions. So please do that. I'm going to go ahead and ask this first question, which is directed towards Sfia from Sweet Agony. Where are you from? I'm guessing that means... let's just answer both questions. Like, where are you from in-game and where are you from...
like real life. I'm in New Zealand. Yes, corner of the world. But in game, I played on Tonberry until patch 3.3, and then moved to Gilgamesh to join EM.
Mm-hmm. This just recently, right? Like for this last.
It was for creator.
How did you get in that group with that ping?
I don't know. Slowly.
Like I just don't understand how that happens. Just all of a sudden you're like, hey, I'm going to have a huge disadvantage here with my connection, but...
The way this game works, it isn't really that big of a disadvantage. Like, there are some classes that I just can't play optimally, but like the actual difference is pretty minute.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Then I have another question here from Aura SW. I guess this kind of relates a little bit to our comparison that we did earlier. Which job is more rewarding to play, Summoner or Black Mage?
Summoner.
Summoner?
Subjective, I think.
Yeah?
I like
I say Black
seeing...
Mage.
You think? I like seeing big fat 5/4s, but yeah, I think I'm gonna lean towards Summoner as well. I can't like.
Why is Summoner rewarding to play?
It feels like you need to be following a lot more things than just Enochian and going back to casting.
Tracking your dots and like tracking your buffs, like it does feel rewarding. At least I think so. Yeah.
Because you feel like there's more skill in there, so you feel like you're better because you keep up with the skill level a little bit better. And like if you're a black mage, it doesn't take as much skill, so.
Yeah, black mage is easy. Just, yeah.
I feel like you actually make more on-the-fly decisions with black mage, which all add up to being a better pass. But Summoner feels like you're more following a script every single time you do it. I don't find that rewarding.
Oh, okay. There you go. Balana, did you say why you felt that Summoner was rewarding?
Yeah, I think it's just because there's, you have more kind of little check marks to hit, even though you're necessarily going down a list. You're like, okay, I need to do this and this and this all at the same time, and I need to check to see if, the ninja in the group is trick attacking on cooldown, or maybe, we have a sub this week and their trick attacks timing, so I gotta sync up with them, and, I feel like there's more, little things where you can actually manipulate that, where with Black Mage, it's like, okay, I cast my Fire 4s, now I'm in my Blizzard phase, now I'm going back to casting my Fire 4s. You don't really have as much room to work around with Black Mage. Except for around the procs.
Fight.
Oh, what, to fight? Yeah. Did you say
I'm
fight?
not going to say it. I do feel like on Black Mage, every single global is more impactful there.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
That's true.
Yeah, that is true.
All right. I'm waiting for you guys to argue. I'd be okay just sitting here listening to you guys go back and forth about who's wrong and right there. But,
I completely understand what he's saying. It is really rewarding to go through the 1 minute cycle on Summoner, but I just don't like it as much.
Okay.
Like I said, it's subjective, isn't it? Like, if you like both in any aspect, then play both. You'll probably gravitate to one, but like you as a caster, you should be playing both casters. To be honest.
Mm-hmm.
At least.
I got
There's one thing I wanted to touch on.
Sure.
If you're a caster main in a static that does prog, you have a lot of responsibility. You have to know Summoner, Black Mage, and now Machinist, and probably Monk as well. You've got a lot of responsibility. Going into 3.4 prog, you needed to know those. I didn't know Machinist, and did it all as Black Mage anyway. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's definitely a concept for people who are competitive kind of PvE type players who want to force themselves to go really fast and do what they can. I do everything I can to champion against the meta every single day of my life, but that's just because it's more entertaining to me. Because I think you can find stuff that people aren't looking for because they don't even try it because they go with the cookie cutter build. But okay, that's my salt. Done. All right. Next question here is from Easy Katka. Sfia, is it true that it's best to bring 2 black mages to an A10S speed kill?
No.
No? No?
What is this?
I was theory crafting how much potency you get inside a trick attack, pretty much. And it was a lot. I was thinking, holy shit, this is maybe something that could work. But Easy's just easy.
Of course. I mean, apparently he has a command in his Discord bot that is a Sfia command, right?
Does? I have no idea.
It's on Leith's thing, right? Leith's that little thing that's there. That's a command, isn't it?
I mean, I'm not part of that Discord, but it was said. I think so. I think that's what it is. You'd have to ask him. I think he's in the chat.
Yeah, where it says that skill speed is 0.99 in weight. Or spell speed, sorry.
Oh, if that's talking about the stat weights for Black Mage,
yeah,
I think they're very, very not accurate. The ones that we've been given.
Oh, okay.
So I think you
can
say that about a lot of the jobs.
Yeah, I think spell speed is probably the strongest secondary stat in the game on Black Mage, and just from experience, the numbers don't really line up with where it should be.
Right. Okay, all right. Then we got Mini Dons. Leith, how does it feel to be Inger's number 2 Black Mage?
I mean, it feels great. When you know that Anger's number 1 Black Mage is ranked 1,000. What is it? I can't see the picture. Is it 1,075th? That's what does it actually say?
Something like that. Yeah.
I mean, it feels great being behind someone like that on Black Mage.
Now,
What can I say?
which rank is that? Is that just overall like
Yeah,
score, player score?
It's a bit of a meme between me and Minnie because we were just messing around. I haven't. The only fights that I've really played Black Mage on this tier is 9 and 10. Like I did plan to, or before learning Machinist, like the plan was for speed kill with Black Mage on 10, but 11, 12, like I don't know. I didn't really particularly like it. I just gravitate towards Summoner.
Okay. So let's get into the next question here from Moon Dasher to all guests. I think we kind of talked about this. Who's going to be Red Mage next DLC? Are you guys, say we have the information out there, but of course we don't know what's better. Are you guys going to level your casters first, or are you going to go to a new job first? Like you're going to level Summoner or Black Mage before you level up Red Mage?
I'm definitely leveling Summoner first so I can switch to Scholar for the queuing into things, because the DPS queues are going to be awful.
The DPS queues are going to be wonderful. All right, so this is my thought. They're going to be wonderful at the very beginning at level 60, because all the DPS are going back to level 50 at that first day. So you're going to have a shortage in DPS on the very first day. So you're going to have longer tank and healer queues with like instant DPS queues if you start level 60 going forward to 70.
I don't know about that, Frosty.
You don't believe me?
No.
No? You don't
No.
think that logic is sound?
No.
Sfia? You gonna back me up?
I don't get it.
You don't get it? all right.
I mean, to an extent, yeah.
So people who are going to be switching are more likely to be DPS, right? DPS are going to switch to Summoner, or not Summoner, I'm sorry, Red Mage or Samurai, right?
Right.
Less tanks and healers are going to switch. They're not going to make the switch as much, right?
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, the same. You could have said the same thing about Dark Knight as well, and everyone jumped to Dark Knight and then jumped off straight away.
True. Because they didn't want to tank, but... And also, a lot of people didn't like Dark Knight when it first came out. I think they all hated it, right? Until they start to see it in meta, and it was like, wow, it's super strong because this is just how bosses work, and it loves Dark Knights. Am I wrong in that? That's what I remember. It was 2 years ago.
I think that's more or less what happened. They also had a lot of issues with like MP bugs and like double dark artsing things, so people weren't really sure where it was meant to be at.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, this is my theory, guys, and when you see it happen and you guys start leveling your Black Mage or you start leveling your Summoner at level 60, day 1, as soon as servers hit live and you get insta queues into your dungeon, you can say Frosty was right.
I'll give you
All right.
I'll give you that, Frosty.
All right. I want you guys to contact me when you get those insta DPS queues and say you were right. Can I get
I'll
that
tweet
from you
it.
guys? All right, Sfia. All right. Leave.
You're lucky.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'll tweet you.
You'll try. Fuck you. Toybot, all guests as well. What new skills would they like to see from Black Mage or Summoner? I guess we didn't really go into completely new skills that you could see them being developed for these new jobs. Do you guys have any theory crafting or thoughts of what they could add as new skills for jobs for Black Mage or Summoner? And I'll just go Black Mage for Sfia. What kind of skill would you want to see?
I want to see reliability in the burst. So crit and ley lines.
So the crit, crit and
Yeah.
ley lines.
That would
But if
make
you had
me
to create
happy.
a whole new spell,
whole new spell,
yeah.
something that would interact with thunder, or I don't really think they need much else. They just need more raid DPS increases,
Okay.
unless they, remove all of it. In which case, they might be balanced.
Balanced and boring, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I like the way it plays.
Okay. Balana, Summoner.
Either a new pet with utility, which probably won't happen, or would be more likely is maybe like a different sort of trance you could go into, with either like a different sort of ender on that, like instead of Death Flare, have like a more single target thing, Death Beam.
Okay. So, I mean, we were dealing with Death Flare because of the dragons that we fought in the last expansion, so I would assume that we'd have a goblin spell.
Oh yeah,
at that point.
get that Dread Alexander stance.
Yeah.
And
Time
cast
stop.
There you go.
Yeah, good time stop. Why not? And it makes all your dots stop ticking down, and they just stay still, and you just keep doing damage, and then eventually they go back. Why not?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Leith?
Definitely some more interaction with pets, maybe like a new one or different skills maybe for the existing ones if they don't want to give us more, and like a new. I'm not sure like if you'd want to go past 3 dots, but maybe like some more dots if they. I'm not sure actually. I imagine if they keep Aetherflow, maybe we will get like a new Aetherflow skill, most probably. But I imagine mostly it'll be like it's a pet class. Like I want it to be more interactive with the pet.
You want to be more dependent on the pet? Well, I mean, the issue that people say all the time is that the pets are just unreliable, and so if you put more weight in the pet, it makes it a more clunky job, right?
I wouldn't. Not more in the pet, just more ways. Like struggling like to find the words for this. Like I just want this more interaction with the pet, which would maybe raise like a higher skill cap between people who do micromanage the pet and people who don't. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, but not like just dump skills on the pet or dump damage on the pet. Like, just
I mean, you just press the skills and you're like, oh, it's a skill. It's just like using my own skill.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, other question, Thunder God. Question for Sfia. Would you say you are 100% responsible for the problems in Elysium right now, or only 90% of the problem?
Jesus. Pass?
That's deep.
What problems are happening with Elysium that I don't know about?
It's just there's meme FCs going around again.
Oh, meme?
The old one ride thing again. Similar to that.
Okay, I gotcha.
I think it's people are bored, aren't they? They've got too much time on their hands, probably.
You don't want to give like Folder me you need too much time on their hands. Or Katka even. Okay. Itchy, my ACT says Shadow Flare is physical. Is that true? Need Bard and Machinist optimized my damage. Kappa. No? Is that true? No.
Shadow Flare works in a really strange way. It's the same with Dark Knight's Salted Earth, I think, where it's buffed by one of the hypercharges. I'm not sure if it is the physical or the magical, but yeah. On ACT, it's down as physical. It's really weird, strange, and it's not buffed by like it's not buffed by foes, and it's not buffed by like your stances either. So it's only buffed by like raging in your pot. It's weird. It's like what Balana said about it being on a different server tick because it's a 4 like ground AoE. You would kind of want a bit of continuity, wasn't you? But like, it is what it is.
Yeah, ground effects are weird.
Okay.
Yeah, someone just said in the chat is Bishop Hypercharge for some reason buffs it, but Foes doesn't.
Can I mention one thing that I don't like about Summoner? Is that if you give them a balance card, they don't get full value out of it.
Yeah, the pet. Like, that's an issue.
Because it is transferred out to the pet. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, that's pretty damn goofy. But then again,
Also,
go ahead.
Oh, also Arrow doesn't affect your pet's cast time.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
Well, it's good to know for anyone trying to optimize their summoner there. Leaf, I see something highlighting. I constantly see highlighting.
Oh, it feels bad. Let me mute myself. Feels bad.
Oh, I thought you were trying to say something. Okay. Alice said, given your DPS comp is Ninja, Dragoon, Machinist, Caster, what would be the best caster to take for the fastest kill? So if you were going to bring a caster, which one would bring the faster kill? Summoner or Black Mage? Would it depend on the fight? So A9, which one?
If like I'm not sure if anyone's tried it. I'm pretty sure. I think Kyrie tried it on Summoner. Like, I'm not sure. Like, just if you did all that, like, I just don't think you would do enough boss damage on Summoner. So probably like a Black Mage might be better, just for the actual boss damage that they can put out.
Okay. 10.
Black Mage.
Black Mage. No
yeah,
doubt.
Black Mage, hands down. Hands down, yeah.
11.
Probably Summoner. Depends on kind of RNG on how much the Black Mage would have to move.
Yeah, I think with the amount of rune 3s that you could probably cast in the speed kill, I would lean towards summoner. But yeah,
It's funny. A11 on speed kills is all RNG with like tons of different factors of RNG everywhere. But okay, 12.
summoner.
Yeah, I'd have to get that to summoner.
Okay.
Black mage is just like you have to move at certain phases, and I haven't really played enough black mage on 12 to know, but I'm pretty sure you like where you need to move. I'm sure you can't manipulate, or can you? Do you know what I mean? Like to make it in for
no. The biggest bit is that they lose too much compared to other classes during temporal.
Yeah,
I think at least.
Okay. All right. So Morpheus Warrior here. What is Red Mage even going to be? Are they going to have both white and black magic? That's kind of a general question. I think they know that it's going to be kind of like a black mage in magic wise, right? They're not going to have white magic or anything. They're not going to be able to heal people from what we understand. I mean, we're just guessing here. We don't know. I don't think there's any way for us to know, right?
Wasn't it described as like they have the magic medium and then it's the rapier? Like I'm not too sure.
Physical,
It
like
seems
a
like
few physical damage hits or something.
I know that in our group at least, like myself and Rios will be leveling it. So I mean, we'll see like which one ends up actually playing it depending what the job is like.
Okay. Balana, Sfia, you don't know anything that we don't know, right?
Nope.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so let's go into this next one. Nintendo Switch. That's a good complete tangent here from Peculiar Logic XD. Are you guys getting a Nintendo Switch?
No. I got a Wii U and I regret it.
Leith?
The only Nintendo anyone ever needs is a SNES, and that's it. Done. Just get Mario World, Mario Kart, and then you don't need anything else.
I'm getting a Switch. Yeah, he's SNES. I don't know what he's talking about. I'm just going to nod my head.
SNES.
Super Nintendo.
Oh, SNES.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
SNES is what I hear.
Okay.
Fancy SNES.
But no, I won't be getting a Nintendo Switch, unfortunately.
I am getting it just because I feel like maybe Breath of the Wild will be worth the $360 it's going to cost to get it. So, I mean, that's the only reason why. Because there's no other game that's going to come out that's going to be like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I got a Switch to play this. Besides Zelda. And they wouldn't have sold any units if they did not put Zelda on the same launch day. But
yeah, Zelda fanboys.
That's me, dude. Failed the city, yes. At MogTalk, okay. In 4.0, how would you list the DPS classes, including newer ones, and DPS ranking of damage? There's no way, even at their question, there's no way that we could even possibly even get close to understanding what kind of damage would go out there. Unless if you guys have some information I don't.
Isn't Paladin going to be on top? Like, I thought
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what they're going to do, right?
No, here's the thing. Paladin's going to be best. Monk's
Are you
going to be
get
best.
AoE?
Yeah.
AoE. So
You know what? I am going to get AoE. Okay. And I'm going to flash people, and it's going to hurt them. It's actually going to pierce their skin, give them sunburns or something. I don't know. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to get AoE. Don't worry about it. Yeah, no. The worst thing in the world is running Paladin in Experts. I can't stand it. I love the job. I love everything else. But playing it in Experts really hurts me. I feel so bad. Anyways, past that question. We've already hit it 50 times when we shouldn't have hit it once. Yuan Katan, is it true that Leith only talks to people below him? You don't like to talk to superiors, dude?
No, like at FanFest, I think Milka, the summoner that I know from Lich, like I was just messing around and he was trying to talk to me and I was like, sorry dude, I don't talk to people below me on FFXIV, and he just like feels bad.
Yeah, feels bad, man. Nice. Okay, last question here. Ichi, where do casters fall in single target damage potency among the DPS, like 1v1 versus a dummy? I think it's black mages are the high side of it, and summoners are a little bit lower.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where they match up against monks
Yeah.
now, because I haven't actually seen a monk in a really long time. But I'd say to be black mage monk at the top, and then summoners more around the bard.
Mm-hmm.
below
Whereabouts?
below the bard. Bard's actually really strong.
But
so-
without piercing, this is.
Yeah.
I think the other day, Rios was doing a pass like on a dummy, and I think he did like 2,800, which seems like quite high without piercing. So I'm
is
not
really
too sure.
high.
It might like depend on depends on Chris and stuff like that. But like Sfia said, I haven't seen what a monk can actually do on a dummy. I don't think anyone's like posted any like passes or anything, but I'd imagine like 3k would be reasonable.
Okay. Quick question for me in regards to just crit in general. I mean, crit has stuck around for quite a while, and it's always been the best stat for most jobs, except for spell speed being absolutely ridiculous for black mages. I never liked that idea of crit being such an important stat because it was to me it feels unreliable, right? Because you're kind of having higher damage, lower damage, it just evens out throughout the fight. Do you think there would ever be any merit to stack mainly det over crit?
If you're the least lucky person in the world and you can never get any crit procs, somehow every die you roll always ends up on 1, then det would definitely be worth more. But until I've met such a aberration to humanity, crit would still be better just because of the law of averages.
Okay.
Yeah.
After they kind of gutted det, it was a pretty garbage stat.
Gearing in this game, like it's you don't have to be like really intelligent. You just stack as much. Well, black mage is like the exception on certain classes that have like breakpoints, but you're just looking for the most crit you can get on most classes, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they could maybe do something to make it to where stable damage and consistent damage matters, but not damage is all over the place all the time with balance and everything else. That I don't think they could ever really develop something in the game that would make that logical.
I mean. Maybe in Stormblood when they rework, like they said they're reworking parry, right? So maybe they'll like have a look at some.
You mean removing parry?
Well, yeah, maybe. But maybe they can have a look at like some of the other kind of slightly dead stats for some class and improve on them. So you're not just like, oh, it has crit. Oh, there you go, done. Like it is to bring like WoW, like gearing in WoW is really fun. At least in my opinion, like the options that you have compared to Final Fantasy, like. I'm not saying that I want gear like WoW, but I mean some sort of choice would be nice other than just 2 pieces.
So you want like more of an array of things. You're like, hey, I can start doing this, and I can mix up, and I can have this kind of build. I could be a spell speed of this version of this job, or I could be a crit version of this job, or I could be a det version of this job, and they would all be kind of viable. Just
not really like that. More so like the situation that black mages are in this tier where. Your set's garbage. Like until you get the relic and you can sort of adjust it. Like some jobs are like that. Like Dragoon, for instance, only has 1,000 crit this tier. Is until they get the relic and then their gear set changes. If there was like more options for gear of that tier, I can't see how it would be bad for the game. Do you know what I mean?
I gotcha. Just giving more pieces of gear out there for them to choose from.
Yeah, just more like outlets of where you can get it from.
Okay.
With different stats.
Item?
Do you guys remember that? How you had the farm diet in to get the best set?
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Dude, no. that I mean, it made people want to go in there, didn't it? So I mean, it wasn't like a bad idea, but I'm interested to see what like this iteration of the diadem is like when it eventually comes out.
Yeah, it's gonna be a few weeks, I think, before we see it. We do have a patch coming up, don't we? Like on this
Tuesday.
This Tuesday. Yep. I guess we could have had a whole show on that patch, but I mean, like we talked about, I guess, the feast.
Yeah, Proto Ultima and the feast,
Yeah.
and what is it? The new favor system thing.
Oh, for crafting.
crafters.
Yeah, I've never had a crafting show. 100 episodes almost, not one crafting show on MogTalk.
I guess let's do that. Let's talk about crafting on the 100th show. Let's do it.
I would have to build a
section.
Yeah, I might need to. But if you guys don't know, we are doing the 100th show in a couple of weeks from now. And the idea for the 100th show is to have as many 1-hour segments as I can, up to maybe like a 12-hour show.
I remember that. That's when Zeno did his Grease slanting of the Blood
And
of the
he's
Dragon,
coming
right?
back with a
With a new
comparable
one?
segment. I'm not going to say exactly what it is because it's all a surprise. But I mean, if you like that, you'll probably like the segment that he'll probably be doing.
I mean, I wish they'd make it.
Yeah, That would be exciting, right? Super hard and crazy difficult fights in the game.
Yeah. One shot everything.
That only 8 people can beat in the entire game.
You think people could beat that? I mean, wow.
I mean, as long as you go the Bard Machinist and you don't play Summoner, you don't play Black Mage, you don't play Monk, and you don't play Paladin, you can kill it.
Come on, Caster Show.
Caster Show. Okay, sorry.
Play Caster.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, the entire purpose of this show is to say, hey, casters are fine. This is how we're talking about casters. But I mean, and realistically, they're down just because of meta and the very end optimal stuff. And so everything that we say here, and it sucks because I say a lot of things that are jokes, and we all do it. I think we all have this thing where we joke about this, but it gets taken the wrong way by players, and it transforms this whole like elitism, don't bring in this job because it's not good kind of thing, which I think is stupid. I'm part of the problem because I do that. I feel like I am.
I mean, it's a little bit of misinformation, isn't it? But unless you're really pushing to do speed kills and that's like, the goal of your group, then if you have a good caster, like keep the good caster. Like, at least that's why people should take from this. Like, don't just replace good casters. It's stupid because when the expansion comes around and casters are good and you're looking for a caster, then that guy might just tell you to fuck up.
Yeah. Any final words? That's good. That's a good final note to leave off on there, Leith. Any final words from you, Balana? Anything else you would want to add?
No, I think it's a pretty good discussion. I mean, we covered a lot more about talking about the meta composition of things and less about casters. But I mean, it was good, kind of change of pace.
Well, meta in the end of casters within the meta, because I think it's good to understand how things are, or why things are the way they are right now.
Right.
And I mean, it's when you talk about casters and you talk about the different bits of advice, there's only so much advice you can give besides general, just good advice, which we went through that, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah, we hit me at those points.
Yeah. Sfia.
Hello.
Any last words that you'd like to give? Just as general, good summary things that you would want to say.
I really think we kind of covered it all there.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
Pretty good. All right. Well then, that all being said, we can go ahead and finalize this show. We can go to end it off. I appreciate you guys coming on the show. You guys have been absolutely amazing. Sorry if my questions didn't make as much sense as I would hope they would make, or if I went off on the crazy tangents, or we talked about jobs that we should have been talking about, or things that just were completely non-relevant. But I still had a lot of fun with you guys here. And let's do it.
We didn't mind your paladin podium every here now and then.
You gotta have it. It's hard to, like, if you had a show, I mean, you would compare things to your job a lot, maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe you're professional. I don't know. You're professional.
Can't have a show about dead classes without speaking about paladin. So that's good.
There you go. All right, so let's do our shout-outs here. Balana, you want to do your shout-outs first?
Yeah, sure. Shout-outs to Free Company, Elysium. To all you crazy people out there, all the players on Gilgamesh, and shout out to the viewers for coming in and tuning in.
All right, Leith.
Yeah, shout out to my FC Angered, in particular, like Giddy Bear. He said that I had to shout him out. Everyone watching, I hope it was enjoyable, and to Frosty as well. Thanks for having me.
Of course, dude.
It's good fun.
Yeah, Sfia.
Yeah, my FC, Elysium, my Tonbury FC, AEM, and my raid teams. And you, Frosty.
Oh, thank you. Balana didn't shout me out because he's an asshole. No, it's good. You guys have been amazing on the show. I'm glad we brought you on. You guys are all extremely talented players. And I enjoy doing these shows because I feel like you don't have these shows anywhere else. You don't have long discussions about jobs, and I feel like that's kind of interesting to hear. I don't know. People have shown a lot of interest in having these job shows, so I'll keep doing them. And probably the next one, we might do I think we're up for a melee show. And since we're on this topic, and we've already had a paladin show and a caster show, I guess we can go with a monk show. Yeah,
we can find one, yeah.
Anyways, guys, thank you guys for coming on again. Do you any of you guys, Balana, you don't really stream anymore, do you?
Here and there, every now and then.
Yeah. You can catch Balana at YoJoBo. if you do want to catch him there. Every now and then, if he's playing Doom. I think that was the last game that you actually streamed, right?
I think I streamed the For Honor beta, a little bit of that.
You just hang up on us and leave on our last moments here. What's up with that?
He's back. He's back.
Okay.
Back.
What the hell,
Sorry.
man? Okay, Leith. Do you do any streaming at all, or you just kind of get on Twitch and troll people every once in a
No,
while?
dude, I'm antisocial as fuck. But mostly due to my internet is not good enough to stream. But if you want to watch me, then it'll mostly be through like Rio streaming or one of the other people.
Okay. Awesome. Sfia, do you do any kind of streaming?
Occasionally, very, very infrequently.
All right. Is it Sfia P? Is your Twitch name?
Yes, having just changed it.
Okay.
That's the one.
Excellent. All right, guys. Last bits here. Thank you all for watching. Thank you guys for being on the show. Thank you, Cora, for collecting the questions. Thank you, Andre Kane, for letting me use his music in the intro and in the outro that we're going to be doing here. Thank you very much to Balana, there we go, for doing the artwork. I appreciate you doing the artwork here for the show. And with that all being said, we all do awkward waving. Leith is doing awkward waving as well. You just can't see it.
Yeah, both hands. Both hands.
Both hands. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to be good, keep cool, and stay frosty. It's good. It's a good one. It's good.